Happy Thursday! Yeah, everybody. Welcome to the Sean O'Connell Show. Happy to be with you once again. Gordy Chiesa is going to be with us for an hour today. I always look forward to our in-person visits. Gordy hanging out. And, of course, today he'll be helping us break down Game 1 of the NBA Finals. Back and forth affair. Very intense, incredible game last night. Ultimately won. By the New York Knickerbockers. Lots to unpack from that thing. George Sedano of ESPN also going to join us on the show. That'll be in the 1 o'clock hour. And, of course, we've got some updates on all things in the college football world, in the NHL world. A little Roland Garros update, perhaps. There's something that we have to at least mention, all right? Last night, some Gen Z moron ran onto the basketball court during an NBA Finals game. In the run of play, not in a timeout, not during a TV timeout, not while the players were heading into halftime, not during shoot-around. This was like 6 minutes left in the game, and some kid with one of those weird perm haircuts and a hoodie on runs onto the court to try to get a selfie with Victor Wembanyama, and he's taking video the whole time. And I guess because his video is out there on the internet, maybe he got what he was looking for from it. I'm glad his name is not out there. Hopefully he gets no notoriety from this, no run, no popularity, no anything from this. It's moronic. It's offensive to every other sports fan in the world. And I think more importantly, it is dangerous as a precedent. Look, it's not like we have not seen streakers. We have not seen people interrupting play in games before. The World Cup is coming. You'll probably see some protest of some sort. You'll see some streaker, some drunk idiot, whatever. This is an NBA Finals game. I mean, this is one of 7 of the most important games of the season. And it's not like this was a lull in the action. Thankfully, it was sort of as the Spurs were bringing the ball across half court and nothing overly consequential was happening in the game. I can confidently say that if the game was on the line, if there were, 15 seconds left and somebody's trying to dial in a last-second shot, it seems like this idiot would have done the same thing. And I try not to be one that overreacts to stuff that is just like kids being kids, or, you're not going to see me be the one who aggressively shames the rushing of a field or the rushing of a court after a victory or something. The fan experience, I think, is an important one in sports. And athletes, for the most part, do a good job of remembering that. Athletes in the NBA, I think, are in a really unique situation where there is literally no barrier between them and the fan base. In the NFL, it's a minimal barrier, right? You just got to hop over the railing or something like that. Security got to this kid relatively quickly. The reason that it matters and the reason that I want to react to it but not overreact to it is because leagues have to promise players that they're going to avoid this kind of stuff. Leagues have to be able to say to players, the NBA, which I think has the best relationship with its players between ownership, front office, league office, and players. It seems like the NBA's got the best relationship with, the actual players. Seems like that. I don't have any scientific evidence to support that, but that is my general sense. 877-353-0700 if you disagree with me. It seems like the Adam Silver office and the league office and the owners have a less combative relationship with their employees than most professional sports leagues do. And this will not change that unless it becomes something that, kids want to continue doing. If there's some kind of payoff for this young idiot and somebody else wants to pull the copycat crime. If you're Victor Wembanyama, I cannot imagine. The kid looks like he's probably about Wemby's age. I cannot imagine how frustrating it is to not ever be able to blend in anywhere, right? He is always going to stand out everywhere he goes. He can never be anonymous. I mean, even if he put on sunglasses, a mask, everyone's like, wait a second. That Slender Man profile and that the tone of skin poking out from under the wrist of that hoodie, is that Victor Wembanyama? And people are going to want to go get selfies. They're going to want to go get pictures. They're going to want to go talk to him. We had Victor Wembanyama. We had a PFL event in Paris. There's a very famous, he's only famous in France. His name is Cedric Doumbé. He was a world champion kickboxer. He's got a very strong social media presence. He's a bit of a French Jake Paul kind of a situation, although instead of being famous first and then getting into combat sports, he became famous for combat sports. But he's an excellent trash talker. He's a creative guy, and he's a huge star over there. And he signed with the PFL, and we had him fighting in Paris, sold-out show, and Tony Parker came to see him. Kylian Mbappe came to see him. A bunch of guys from PSG were front row. They had flown back from a match that day, and Victor Wembanyama was in the stands. He was in the front row, actually, with, this was 2-3 years ago now. Victor Wembanyama is there to watch these fights, and our PR team, our social media team, went over to him and was just like, hey, would you want to come be part of an on-camera interview? Would you want to go talk to, in that case, it was me and a guy named Stefan Struve, who anyone who knows the fight world, Stefan Struve is also 7 feet tall, so that at least would have given Wembanyama someone he could kind of look in the eye. And a guy named Dan Hardy, right, who's still my broadcast partner. Do you want to go talk to these guys on camera? And Victor Wembanyama said, no, thanks. I would rather just hang out with my friends and watch. And two funny things here. The friends were other 19, 20-year-old kids that looked like 19, 20-year-old kids. It's Victor Wembanyama hanging out with French dudes that are his age, so it's like looking into the muss and seeing people of that age cohort, but then there's Victor Wembanyama. And I'm getting to my point here, I promise. I know I get long-winded with these things. He was trying so hard to not have to take pictures and sign autographs, and he just wanted to enjoy his night so much that he walked into the arena. I'm not exaggerating. He walked into the arena. He took a couple pictures on his way to the seat. He waved at people. He got the shout-outs in French. And, he did the thing, like the gracious celebrity smiling for the selfies kind of thing on his way to his seat. He sat down in his seat, and he did not stand up again for the rest of the night. Because he knew as soon as he stood up, anyone who had not seen him would then be like, oh my gosh, Victor Wembanyama's here. Because he's head and shoulders above everybody else. I think he was also being courteous to the other people sitting behind on the front row, because if he stands up, your view 6 rows back is completely obscured. He sat down in that chair and did not stand up for the rest of the night. They had a camera on him basically the whole night trying to get his reactions, right? The crowd cam was Victor Wembanyama, Kylian Mbappe, everybody else. And Kylian Mbappe could just be himself. He could do his thing. He's more famous than Victor Wembanyama. But Kylian Mbappe, he can put his hood on. He can stand up. He can jump. He can high-five his friends. And he doesn't stand out. Victor Wembanyama, I can't imagine how frustrating it is to just try to walk through your life. And if you can't even do your job, you can't even be on an NBA floor in active competition, without that happening, we're going to get to a situation where Victor Wembanyama has to have his own security guard, like own personal security detail, much like Leo Messi does. There's a bunch of YouTube videos. There's a bunch of funny kind of viral clips of this, whatever he is, former Mossad, former Navy SEAL, this like hardcore operator dude who is Leo Messi's personal security guard, who does everything to keep people away from Messi. Whenever some fan streaks onto the field, no matter their age, this dude with his traps and his excessively tight shirts, he is sprinting towards whoever that is. We're already at that point probably with Victor Wembanyama, because Victor Wembanyama can't play a game of basketball in an NBA final without some young jackass trying to get a selfie with him while he's competing. I do not understand that mentality at all. I mean, I will never shame people for wanting to get pictures with their celebrities, wanting to get autographs. I mean, we all love to tell the stories of our encounter with our favorite athlete if you had one. For the athletes themselves, it becomes a stressful thing. You got to be gracious with people that you don't want to be gracious with sometimes. But Victor Wembanyama had to deal with it in an NBA Finals game. Thankfully, it happened at a juncture of the game where I don't think there was any real outcome change. There was not a turnover forced. Nobody lost a handle. Most importantly, nobody got hurt. And while it is like the intent of just getting a picture with the player is harmless, doing it in that moment in a game is disgusting. Is fan behavior that has to be universally reviled, has to be punished excessively. And this kid is banned for life. He is trespassed for life from the Frost Bank Center or whatever it's called down there in San Antonio. But you got to make it worse. You got to put the kid in like real jail.
They said he was arrested too,
as is appropriate.
So I think at least last night he probably spent the night in jail. Yet charges probably need to be pressed in some way. Like, I will say this: I was sitting at a friend's house in down in St. George, where I'm from, and one of their family members came by.
Wait, when you were watching this?
No.
Sorry. I was like, how did
years ago? How did
you get from St. George to here?
It's related to fan behavior, misbehaving. Years ago, not an NBA Finals game that we're watching. Whatever, we're not even watching a game. A family member comes by and tells a story of them going to the Pro Bowl games in Vegas, and how they, somehow they were able to get behind the scenes into the hallways of the convention center that was holding the Pro Bowl like skills challenge and stuff. They don't work for the league. They're not former players. They snuck back there. They got back there somehow. Starts to tell me this story about all the guys who were nice. He's got little kids. Like, all the guys that were nice to my little kids when we asked them for a picture and autographs and whatever. Remember, not supposed to be back there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then starts to talk very badly of specific players who weren't nice, who didn't want to give them time. And I'm sitting here not commenting because I don't know this family member well. Not passing judgment vocally, but
Just
in my head,
quietly, yeah.
But in my head, I'm like, who are you to be saying they're a very rude person? They're like, criticize them for not giving you the time of day when you're not supposed to be back there. So, listen, I know there's a lot of people listening to this right now and being like, well, yeah, I agree with your friend's family member here. They should just always be nice. They're famous people. we're their fans. They don't have a right to not be nice. And that is just absolutely wrong. They're human beings. Anytime you ask a player, a famous person, for an autograph or a picture, if they say no, and I heard all the John Stockton stories over the years, sure, you can think that's rude, but just know that they have a right to say no.
Well, also,
and you have to deal with that.
Especially when, and I know this colors into, weird political lines. That's not what, but when you violate somebody's space, right? When you're in a space that is supposed to belong to a particular demographic of person, right? In this case, a professional athlete. I'm not going to lie. I have always thought it was very, very weird that for decades, the norm in sports media is after an NBA game, you went into a locker room and you talked to players while they were naked, while they had towels around their waist. I remember getting into the business. So this would have been 2010 when I got my first full-time radio show. Getting into the business, going down to shoot around. Yep, totally normal. Going down, talking to Jerry Sloan while he leaned against the pillar next to the garbage can. Totally normal. Awesome. Incredible for someone who'd been such a fan of him for his whole life. And I guess my brain had never really connected the two things because, of course, as a sports fan, I had seen a million clips of players sitting at their locker with a bunch of microphones in their face, talking to media post-game and answering questions. The first time I got an NBA press pass and I walked into an NBA locker room where the guys are like getting out of the shower, I was like, what is going on? Why am I in here? Why is this happening right now? And of course,
it does feel wrong.
Over the years, it has led to many allegations, many inappropriate sort of interactions. It's not like they only allow male reporters into the room at that time. It is a bizarre, very strange thing. But at least that is a professional setting where, people are doing their jobs and handling it mostly 99.99999% of the time the right way. There have been outliers, obviously. There have been guys who use their access to locker rooms to steal Tom Brady's jerseys and things like that. But when somebody, if somebody comes into, James, we were just people watching on the YouTube. You were just doing some things, you were fixing some things in the studio just now.
Yeah, that spoiler alert. That's why you saw a full screen overlay instead of video of Sean O'Connell.
So James was fixing some things in the studio, making sure some things were hanging right. I'm here doing my job, and I'm like, James, my mind is going, James, why are you in here right now doing this thing? And James is doing what he's supposed to do.
Yeah, you're bothering me. I'm trying to talk about this unruly fan behavior in the NBA Finals.
And you're being unruly program director here in the studio right now. And that's when you are in the wrong place, when someone is trying to do their job and you are in that place, or when somebody thinks, all right, I'm in the locker room or I'm in this backstage area that nobody can get to, and you somehow get there. I've told my story on the air of the first time that I had a real significant interaction with a professional athlete, Mark McGuire, Ricky Henderson, right? I've told this story.
Yeah.
My grandma took us to the Coliseum. We ran around for an hour trying to find him post-game. We somehow found him post-game in the player parking lot, basically. And they were like, how the bleep did you guys get back here? They weren't happy to see us.
No.
Because we're not supposed to be there. And that, by the way, is totally fine. That is a completely different thing than somebody running up to you while you are competing on an NBA basketball floor in the run of play. I would still tell this kid he's an idiot and call for his arrest if it had happened during a timeout, right? Because players and coaches, but especially the players, they're compensated incredibly well. I don't feel bad for them ever. But this is something that would be, for me, incredibly alarming. It would be incredibly disheartening. It would be disconcerting. It would be off-putting. It would be whatever adjective you want to throw at that. It would be scary in some cases. We're watching some French Open tennis. Right now, there's been incidents, right, in the past where tennis players have been harmed by fans running onto the court. And I know that it's not possible for a league like the NBA or even the NFL or for tennis or for MMA for that matter to completely separate the fans and the athletes, right? That's not good for anybody. You don't want that. You don't want there to be some 10-foot electrified fence between you and the person that you want the autograph, and you're buying a ticket to see them perform. But this idiot running onto the court while our precious Wemby is just trying to get some basketball done, I'm not down with that. Spent a little too much time ranting against his actions. The sequence at the end of this game, and Gordy Chase is going to be joining us here in a few minutes in studio, so I will get the much more informed and educated perspective on the actual, like, what really won this game for the New York Knicks. But right around that 2-minute mark, right, where it's a 2-point margin, things are getting really, really intense. San Antonio gets an offensive rebound. They try to throw the alley-oop to Victor Wembanyama. He has to reach back too far for it. He's not able to dunk it home. He's not able to tip it in. But he gets fouled. And he hits the free throw. So now we're even. Now it's a tie game. Now it's like, all right, we're 2 minutes left, and this game has just restarted again. And give credit where it's due. We were speculating on this. We were talking about this. There are people around the league everywhere that have been questioning whether or not Brunson is that dude. Brunson showed he is that dude. He took over this game. Effort play to keep an offensive rebound alive. Tips it to a teammate. Teammate finds him in the corner. He hits a three, puts New York back in front, and then this is where, the age, the inexperience, or whatever, Victor Wembanyama lost the handle. He turned the ball over at the end of the game in an absolutely crucial scenario. Victor Wembanyama is the guy who fumbled it back to the New York Knicks, and then you're done. because Brunson makes you pay again. Dribble drive off to the right, hits this crazy rainbow shot. And from that point on, it was relatively academic, in my opinion. So while there's no doubt in my mind that 99 times out of 100, Victor Wembanyama does not have that happen, does not turn that over. And while I believe wholeheartedly that he is going to, in this series probably, make up for that mistake, you had the best player on the San Antonio Spurs make the costliest mistake of the game, while the best player on the New York Knicks did exactly what he was supposed to do, and he made San Antonio pay for every mistake down the stretch, including that mistake by Victor Wembanyama. Give credit where it belongs. Place it at the feet of a guy who is not the physical freak, who is not the guy that everyone in the league identified and knew would be an incredible talent from the moment he got draft eligible. There were plenty of people who thought even when he was in college that he was like a little overrated. But Brunson is the reason that the New York Knicks separated at the end of this game last night and are up 1-0 after one in the NBA Finals. Beautiful to watch. Incredible to see. Not what I expected, not what I predicted, but I will be happily wrong if we get 7 games like that. If I predict them all wrong, fine. I will be thrilled to be wrong if 7 of them look like what we saw last night, minus the idiot fan running onto the court, of course. And credit to the players in that scenario, by the way. Credit to the security that was a couple steps late but caught up and immediately got him out of there. Credit to the players for just like, all right, nothing bad happened here. I'm not going to react to it. I'm not going to overreact to it. I'm going to get back to my job. Good for them. Bad for anyone who encouraged that kid to do that. Bad for anyone who follows him on social media and rewards this type of behavior. Bad for all of us for somehow creating a society in which this feels like a good idea of sorts, where the attention currency is all that truly matters to people. But if you're an NBA basketball fan, last night was an incredible game, was drama of the highest order, and is exactly what I think the league and everybody else wants from their NBA finals. Let's get 6 more of them, please. I don't want this to be a 5-game. I don't want a gentleman's sweep here. I don't even want 6. I want 7 games of these two teams going at it.
Yeah, just real quick, a couple of things that I saw from the Spurs perspective that I'm like, that's got to change. They like to have, it's by design, Wemby guarding the perimeter player who's the weakest shooter on any game, on any team, and this happens to be Josh Hart for the Knicks, so that he can kind of roam the baseline and be a free safety, if you will. I just don't think they have the size for any of their perimeter guys to match up with Karl Anthony Towns, though. So I think that's got to change. Unfortunately, Wemby probably can't be that free safety because they got to have him on. They probably have to have him on Cat. So that's one. The other thing I might think about doing is Keldon Johnson is a minus a lot of times. He's 6th man of the year, but he's been such a wild card OC. Sometimes he's been that 6th man of the year you'd expect, a great spark plug off the bench. Other times, like last night, he had 2 fouls in 30 seconds, and then he hit a corner 3, gives up an offensive rebound to Cat. A lot of that was because Wemby was not guarding Cat. But he had a rough night. I might like to see Harrison Barnes more. Might be the first thing I would say, but Harrison Barnes wasn't really great. They've got a matchup problem on defense that the Knicks exploited in Game 1, and I think they can exploit it the rest of the series if they don't make an adjustment.
Well, we'll have to see what the adjustment is, and this is where, Mitch Johnson and Greg Popovich, his mentor, and anyone else in that Spurs organization, I've tried not to overreact to anything that we saw in Game 1 of these NBA Finals, because if you go back, I guess it would have been Game 5 of the Western Conference Final, you saw kind of some of this. Right? You saw everybody came out of that game, not everybody, but a lot of people came out of that game saying, oh, man, OKC's got San Antonio figured out. They've solved the formula, and this is their series now. Defending champs for a reason, MVP for a reason. Hey, Spurs, you had a nice run, but this is Oklahoma City. Because we're going to see again, the thought process was, we're going to see again in Game 6, and if necessary, Game 7, what we saw in Game 5 from Oklahoma City. They've solved the puzzle, and they hadn't, right? Because the puzzle can change, because it's one of those mythological Harry Potter shifting labyrinth where the hedges move, because you've got the personnel. If you're San Antonio, you've got the personnel to do that. You've got the personnel to make adjustments. You've got the personnel that if you get a little bit more out of A, B, or C, it's a massive difference maker. This is weirdly a very deep team while also having a guy who's a top 3 player in the NBA and is the top young player in the NBA.
I just wonder if they're too small for this Knicks team.
And
but
they very well may be.
It's just one game.
It is
just
one game. And they very well may be, because obviously you have to give New York credit. You've got to give the Knicks credit where it's due. This is a squad that knows exactly who they are, and they know how to get the most out of that lineup. And they do have, I think, a little bit of a physicality advantage. And certainly they've got some size advantage depending on your lineups.
A size advantage on everybody but Wemby, and as far as like actual build, like even Towns has a size advantage over Wemby.
Which like Carl Anthony, I'm very curious to see that evolution throughout the series, because I think New York is going to be like, all right, Mitchell Robinson, you're going to be the guy that bodies Victor Wembanyama. And what we saw a couple times last night, and Gordy will have, I think, some more thoughts on this, where long before there was a shot going up, Robinson was boxing out Victor Wembanyama. And I don't think he was trying to box out for rebounds. He was boxing out to get Victor Wembanyama off his defensive spot and off his defensive rhythm. Because if you let Victor Wembanyama hang out kind of like right outside the key or in the key, you know he's got the nimble feet and he's got the length. He's going to affect shots wherever those shots come from. And if you just mug him in there, you're in danger of an off-ball foul from these referees. But if you're boxing him out in preparation, where you're looking at the hoop and looking at the backboard and boxing him out, you can mug him. So, again, I'm curious to pick Gordy's brain on that, because that feels like very much like a Mike Brown. Just be like, yeah, just pretend you're looking for a rebound, dude. Push him around as much as you want, as long as it looks like you're waiting for a rebound. Eyes on the hoop, eyes away from the ball, eyes away from Victor Wembanyama. You just feel it. You can pass block this dude. They did that in several scenarios last night. We'll talk about that and much more as Gordy Chiesa, our resident NBA guru, joins us for the next hour. We're just getting started on the Sean O'Connell Show. It's ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Oh, welcome back to the Sean O'Connell Show. Welcome in, Gordy Chiesa, longtime NBA coach, friend of the program, our resident NBA guru here at ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Gordy, good to see you here in studio. How are you?
Sean, I'm doing well. Thank you.
New York Knicks up a game. One game into these NBA Finals. Really impressive ending sequence for the Knicks, for Brunson especially. And they steal one on the road in San Antonio. What was your reaction?
Grittiness. The Knicks refused to lose, led by their superstar, vastly underrated player, Jalen Brunson. But it's how they did it. And schematically, Sean, I heard you off the air before. You were talking about the different parts. How did the Knicks win? Well, they changed the coverage in the second half, meaning this. In the first half, those open shots for three-point shots that were going in by Champagnie and those guys and by Dylan Harper, the Knicks had basically, the help defense had 2 feet in the lane. In the second half, it was only 1 foot in the lane, but they kept the nail defender. Most times it was Josh Hart. They were much longer. So meaning this, they were able to contest the three-point shot, the Knicks, when they were down 14 in the third quarter. Schematically, they made that adjustment. They executed perfectly, and that turned the game around. So the Spurs in the second half go 2 for 19 from threes. And from corner threes, they go 0 for 4. And so, Sean, just like in the NFL, the adjustment, that the nuances of how they did it. All right, last point about that. I'm going to get one just for a few seconds just to get technical, and I'll explain it in layman's term. All right, Wemby, who struggled the whole game because of big on big most of the time. All right, big on big, meaning Anthony Towns or Robinson stayed on Wemby's body. But Wemby, in the crucial part of the game with that turnover, that's what we call heavy nail, light nail, meaning this, that the middle of the floor, just picture the basket line, go straight out to the foul line extended. So the middle of the floor, that's the nail defender. All right, sometimes the nail defender moves, which we call light nail, and sometimes he stays there. No matter what happens, he's at the nail to take away middle drive. The middle drive.
Okay.
So Josh Hart was heavy nail coverage, stayed there. Wemby didn't realize it. He tries to penetrate middle, and what does Hart do? Pick his pocket, steal, crucial part of the game. What's the counter of that? The counter of that by any player, but it's hard for Wemby because being 7'3" was when you dribble drive to the middle of the floor, you make a pause dribble to see instinctively, is a nail going to be heavy or light? He misread it and kept on going, and that was the steal. So the nuances of playing in a playoff game, yes, it does matter. It does matter. And the Knickerbockers made the right read in the second half. They took away the three-point shooting. They set on Wemby's body, and it took all of that to win a close game, and the brilliance of Jalen Brunson.
Gordy, going back to that heavy nail, light nail, and that Josh Hart positioning, who makes that call? Is that him in the run of play deciding, all right, this is what I'm going to do? Or did Mike Brown tell him during a timeout or whatever, hey, next time you see Wemby in there, up there with the ball in his hand, I want you to do this? Who is the one who drives that decision?
The coaching staff. They just really schematically tremendous adjustments by the Knickerbockers. Now the Spurs turn. How do you counter that? So it's done by the coaching staff, and then Josh Hart again. The Knickerbockers are a gritty team. That it sounds weird saying it. I know they won 12 games in a row, but they're still underrated because they're. In other words, you know the expression, Sean, and the listeners, that sometimes the total sum is greater than any of its parts. That's the Knicks. That the sum is greater.
Yeah.
And the roles are identified, and that Josh Hart stars in this role. So does Mikal Bridges. Carl Anthony Towns made that adjustment that the top dog is Jalen Brunson, and he's able to deal with that mentally, and that helped the Knicks as far as winning 12 in a row, again, against good competition, but more importantly last night. So even though, again, Wemby's on account of that, Carl Anthony Towns really neutralized Wemby's impact in the game. Didn't outplay him, but neutralized him. So here's the quick metrics of it. Towns goes 18 points, 12 rebounds from the field, 7 for 15. Wemby goes 26 points, 12 rebounds, 6 for 21 from the field, Chile shooting. He got to the foul line, shot great from the foul line, and he had 3 blocks. But they need more from Wemby, but they need more also from everyone else on the team to try to get back, to try to win the next game.
I mean, look, the Spurs had an abysmal shooting percentage from 3 and from the field. And you got to give credit where it's due to a defensive scheme like you were just talking about with New York. But, like, how much of that was guys were just maybe tight in their first finals game, were cold, the pressure of being at home, whatever, because De'Aaron Fox, 3 of 13, Champagnie, 5 of 11. He shot well from 3, though. He was 50% from 3. Wembanyama, who we already talked about, he was 2 of 9 from 3 last night, and he turned the ball over 6 times. Yeah. I don't think you're going to get many games like that from Victor Wembanyama.
No, you're not. No, absolutely not. And so do you realize that in last night's game, the 2 main guys, meaning De'Aaron Fox and Wembanyama, had 9 turnovers in the game combined.
And they made 9 field goals.
Yeah, made 9 field goals. 9 turnovers and 9 field goals, which shows you illustration that they've got to play better. Again, part of it's the mental focus of it. This thing called the NBA Finals, this is intense. This is when you get exposure or you get exposed as a player, as a coach, as a referee, as a broadcaster, as a management group. And this is it's fascinating. The main thing somewhere that the Spurs are going to rally around everybody and the next game execute better. It wasn't lack of effort. It was not. Both teams played extremely hard. It was in that fourth quarter. Don't you felt like during the game, though, that the Spurs were panic shooting? Just generally speaking, they panic shot when they were up 14. They didn't think it was over, but they just kept on firing shots versus what? Moving the deep. When was the last time you saw the Spurs really drive a closeout? When they drove a closeout, they really didn't. They kept on shooting on perimeter. They stayed, I call it outside versus what? Inside outside to go back inside, to go back outside. It was never. It was always outside, and you can't do that.
105-95, the final score in San Antonio for Game 1. And as we break down the rest of this series, as you break down, when you talk about adjustments made during a game, and you talk about the call that this coaching staff for New York Knicks made, now the chess game really begins, right? Because if you're the San Antonio Spurs, you came into this game kind of anticipating the way that that New York was going to try to handle Victor Wembanyama first, and then by extension, guys like Harper, guys like De'Aaron Fox. So you had a guess, I'm sure, on what people, what they were going to do. Now you've seen it. Now Victor Wembanyama's felt it. Now you're going to go back and you're going to do your film study and you're going to say, all right, this is how they're handling this scenario, and you can make your own adjustments on that. This is where we have seen, and I think you probably heard me referencing that Game 5 of the Western Conference Final against Oklahoma City. A lot of people stuck the fork in San Antonio then and said they are done, and obviously they made the necessary adjustments both as individual players and as a team, and they won the next 2, and they advanced to the NBA Finals. So what does it actually look like, Gordy, where it's no longer a predictive exercise, it's no longer guesswork on how the New York Knicks are going to approach you? Now you've seen it. Now you know it. And I'm sure New York will do that thing where they're like, all right, well, they've seen this from us. Now give them something else. But walk me through what it's like in the film rooms and the coaching staff discussions as San Antonio adjusts to New York winning that first game.
Well, the first thing is that they've got to adjust defensively. They've got to create more havoc. So last night, the Knickerbockers really valued the possession to the ultimate. They had 7 first-half turnovers, 1 in the second half. And the only turnover they had was that lob pass to Robinson, and he thought that the shot was going to be taken by Brunson. And so their defense has to be more proactive, causing havoc. That you can't let Hart handle the ball. In other words, Hart's only an average ball handler. The way he played last night, he was able to make plays because they didn't pressure him. And so they've got to get better better ball pressure as far as doing that, and also add to that, they've got to do a better job of starting Victor Wembanyama low. So, for example, most times he spent his residency on perimeter, which is that's his game, but in the slot versus get him at the elbow where it's just a one catch, then elevate as far if you're going to dribble drive, try to elevate. Also, Wemby's got to try to do is that they forced him into the help defense. He's got to go more right-handed. So think about when he got in trouble, he was going to his left hand in the middle of the floor. I'm saying is that if you're going to dribble, first go left, middle as a decoy, and then bring it back to your strong hand and go to the rim this angle versus what? Middle of the floor. To take away what? Take away the heavy nail.
The heavy nail.
Take it away. And they didn't do that. It's the adjustment. Also, the last point is this. During the course of the game, did you ever see, wow, this is really great. The Spurs are setting out so many different screens. There was hardly any screening at all. It was all what? Just on perimeter. Pass, 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 then try to drive it. Versus what? A screening component. I'm saying just naturally screen more to get the defense loose off you, then what? Then try to strike attack. That's the adjustment I would make.
We're going to keep picking Gordy's brain. We've got him for another 45 minutes or so. We're rolling here on a Thursday edition of the Sean O'Connell Show. ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Well, welcome back to the Sean O'Connell Show. Gordy Chiesa here in studio with us on Thursdays. during the basketball season, we get him for an hour, so we're going to keep him for the whole hour. We spent a lot of time in the first segment with Gordy talking about San Antonio, what went wrong for them in Game 1, a loss as New York takes it 105-95, and, of course, the adjustments that San Antonio could potentially make. But New York's going to have a lot to say, especially as long as Jalen Brunson is healthy in this series, because as I was ranting about in the opening segment of the show, he was absolutely brilliant down the stretch. I mean, and not just with ball dominance. I got the ball in my hand. I'm going to affect it by making a shot here. I mean, he was keeping possessions alive. That tip on a missed where he tipped the ball back out. I can't remember who it was that grabbed the rebound.
Mikal Bridges.
It was Mikal Bridges, yeah. And if he doesn't make that play, this game goes potentially differently because we were far from settled at that point. So the brilliance of Jalen Brunson.
Absolutely. So what Jalen did last night, he showed up and showed out the whole game. 13 points in the fourth quarter. He couldn't shoot straight during the game, but when it mattered, he did. He's an unbelievable, I call a bumper car finisher, converter, the way he plays. And I mentioned Sean on Tuesday, where I said to yourself in the audience, I'm intrigued by if the Wembanyama factor will affect Jalen Brunson in the lane. And you know something? It did not.
Not last night.
It did not. Absolutely not. He was that footwork dancing and that stop and go. In other words, a lot of times in the game, Sean, when guys drive to the basket, players, they guard themselves by keeping the ball in the same hand and the same rhythm of the cadence of penetrating. What Brunson does great is that stop and go, herky-jerky. He uses his speed and his low center of gravity to his advantage right now. And so offensively, he's able to get his shoulder and his hips into the guy guarding him to create that separation. So those 30 points were absolutely critical. And you know that 3-point shot he made from the corner, that was only his second 3 of the game. He shot for the contest 2 for 9 for the battle. And this shows you when he does it. Okay, Sean, you saw that New York crowd on the street of Midtown Manhattan next to the Garden. You saw everybody partying like it was 1999. You saw that already.
Literally, by the way. Normally when we talk about partying like it's 1999, it's just to quote the song. It was actually 1999, the last time this team and this fan base was in the finals.
I like it. That's exactly right. Ironically, against the Spurs, too. Whereas they lost 4-1 when Patrick Ewing hurt his Achilles and could not play. And that was a Tim Duncan first championship, 1 of 5. So now you're a New Yorker, Sean. I know, Sean, you're a quasi-New Yorker. You're like a wannabe. I know you are. And James Pearson also. James is a wannabe Queensite, all right? So I was saying to friends of mine, these crazy friends of mine, Sean, I know for 1,000 years back in New York, they were partying last night, not next to the Garden, but they were home partying. I said foolishly that Jalen Brunson right now is tied with Frank Sinatra, Pope Leo, and the Beastie Boys as far as being the most influential New Yorker as of right now. Sean, you agree with me? Frank Sinatra, Pope Leo, and the Beastie Boys.
That wouldn't necessarily be my list, but I like yours. You're the expert here.
Okay, so that's the power of what. Also, let's go over some of the quick roles of this underrated player. Do you realize last night with Josh Hart, that hustle player, he's 6'5.5". Like, he plays so hard and he has so much grit about himself, and he understands his role. His role is to what? Be a secondary scorer, be a ball mover offensively, be a willing screener, and defensively be a junkyard dog. But most of all, hey, I love crashing the boards, both in offense and defense. So last night, only 2 players in NBA Finals history registered 15-plus rebounds in a game, had 5 assists and no turnovers. They are Dennis Rodman and last night, Josh Hart.
Wow.
That's it. History of the NBA Finals. Dennis Rodman and Josh Hart. That's how powerful the games were as far as his game. So last night with the 15 rebounds, 6 assists, and 4 steals in the game, he tied Larry Bird as the most recent player ever to have those numbers in a game also. So Josh Hart, he tied Rodman and he tied Bird in the exact same game. And people would say to him, "What's his name? Is it Josh Hart or is it Kevin Hart? What's his name?" And I'm kidding you. But,
thankfully, Josh Hart is a little taller than Kevin Hart.
Okay, but besides the way he plays, is that he plays with a joy, and that's what makes it so interesting. It sounds so cornball, and it's not. Guess what? You have to like your teammates. And the Nova Knickerbockers, they all go back to the college days, and now suddenly along the ride now is Karl Anthony Towns and also Mitchell Robinson and Landon Shamet. Landon Shamet off the bench. That guy comes in the game, he can make threes, and he's gritty defensive player. So the Knicks are well positioned. Now, if you're the Knickerbockers, you're sitting right now in the Alamo City. You may be walking right now. It's a 1 o'clock back in Central Time Zone. They're probably after the walkthrough. They're probably walking around on the Riverwalk in San Antonio. The thing right now is that you think you played hard this game. Next game, you got to play even twice as hard and execute even more and be more gritty in crunch time to knock out the Spurs, who will be ready for it. Should be a fascinating Game 2, and Game 3 again will be on Monday night. So, Sean, this weekend there's no NBA games because there's a bigger things going on in sports. So ABC decided to what? Have the game Monday night.
What could possibly be bigger in sports? You know, Stanley Cup final.
Yep.
World Cup coming.
World Cup coming, Sean, and they cut those prices down. In case you're wondering,
yeah,
they cut them down dramatically.
Not yet in my price range as a tried and true cheapskate, but we're almost there.
No, but you're not, Sean. But Knickerbocker tickets now. People tell me to sit lower bowl. All right, so those 9,000 seats and most, I'm giving a take, either 9 or 10,000 seats in lower bowl, including the Delta Center, for the Knickerbocker game in Game 3. Most of those seats, Sean, are going now for, if you haven't bought tickets already, are going now on the market roughly between $5,000 to $8,000 per seat.
Well, I don't mean to ruin your claim here, Gordy.
And then courtside seats are going crazy.
So, you know how if you go to ESPN, they tell you the get-in price for the games, right? You look at the schedule.
I saw a $1 million one, too.
So right now on Vivid Seats, which is somehow the ESPN partner, the cheapest lower bowl seat listed right now on Vivid Seats is $9,200.
Okay, $9,000. Okay.
The cheapest upper bowl seat right now is $7,200.
Yikes! And they call that in the Garden the Blue Skies.
What are we doing?
They call that the Blues, meaning blue sky.
Suddenly, World Cup tickets look like an absolute bargain.
You're exactly right. Again, but it's once in a lifetime. If you're a long-suffering Knickerbocker fan or any other fan base of your team, hey, I waited my whole lifetime, fill the blanks in. The last time they did it was Knickerbockers was 1973. I went over on Tuesday back in 73. The price of gas, who was president. I was wearing bell bottoms, Sean, back in 1973, etc., the whole thing. But it just shows you, though, how long it was. Now, for the Spurs, the last championship was 2014, so it's almost recent. And that's why the fans, hey, without the NBA, without the fans, there's no NBA. Without the fans, there's no NFL. Without the fans, there's no Major League Baseball. And that's why the fans, that's why they want to go to these games and are willing to spend all this money. So it should be absolutely fascinating. It's going to be intense. Who's going to win? We're going to find out. But all I know is this, that in any situation in a playoff game, offensively, you've got to make something out of nothing. That's what I call chaos scoring, because the defense is so fast and schematically so sound. You've got to be able to do something with your feet and with the ball at the same time.
I'm getting stuck on this ticket cost disparity happening right now, because if you want to go to Game 2 in San Antonio, it's about $800.
And that's actually reasonable.
If you want to go to Game 3, it's about $8,000. It costs 10 times more to go to one of these games in New York City. If you're a Knicks fan, you'd actually be better served to get yourself a first-class plane ticket and a nice hotel, fly to San Antonio, go have some Pinkerton's barbecue, which is my favorite in San Antonio, and maybe watch your team steal another one on the road. There's a lot of Knicks fans. There was a lot of Knicks fans there last night. You know why else there's a bunch of Knicks fans in there? I observed this because you don't get that, like you've said, you get that Hollywood front row at the Garden like you do at the Staples Center. What's it called now? The Crypto.com arena. If you were watching last night and if you're a stand-up comedy fan, there were a lot of famous stand-up comics in New York Knicks gear sitting in those first few rows because Austin, Texas has become like the stand-up comedy capital of the United States. And a lot of those guys are either living temporarily or have fully relocated to Austin, Texas. So that's an hour. It's a little drive down the road to from Austin to San Antonio. So all these New York comedians are in their Knicks gear watching in San Antonio.
Very much. Also, you add to that, besides the economics of it, they also in Texas has no state income tax. So that's part of why they relocated to Austin, which is really a pretty hip place.
Yeah.
It really is, yeah.
Austin is very hip.
Yeah, it is. But being hip right now, it all starts showing by playing body to body on Wemby's hip. Wemby's got to what? Release that hip and get what? Get a shoulder by them. So here we are, Sean, talking about hips, talking about shoulders.
All right. Even as the NBA Finals are unfolding, the league office, Adam Silver, he's dealing with some other bigger fish that he's got to fry. We'll get into some of those in our next segment. Also, I have not yet picked Gordy's brain on, fan interactions. I'm sure Gordy's tackled a streaker or two in his day as an NBA coach. We'll get there. It's the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Scary movie coming to theaters Friday. ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM want to send you to see it first. Text movie to 33986 for your chance to win some tickets. That's movie to 33986. All right, bad fan behavior on display last night, about 6 minutes left, and some moron runs onto the field to take a selfie with Victor Wembanyama, who handled it. He was sort of just bemused. He was like, what is this guy doing here? He had kind of a half smile on his face. He didn't let it get under his skin. He's really, really gracious with fans, even ones who are doing stupid stuff. But, Gordy, you've been around the league forever. I imagine you saw some bad fan behavior at some point.
Yeah, very much. I have. Also, it's after this. There's no place for that. And he did a good job, security, of running after the guy to get it. Just think about it. The fans are so close to the players. Literally, you can touch each other. And that's how crazy it is sometimes in a game. And that guy, I'm sure, should be put in jail, got a huge fine. He'll be in jail for X amount of months, I'm assuming, and that it's only funny now. It was only funny last night, but that now. The refs did a good job as far as getting him out of there, and so did the security. One time in jazz basketball, a long, long time ago, Karl Malone, let's say, was a big human being. There was a heckler on the baseline at the arena in Oakland, and he was harassing Karl. He was a muscle man, too. He's a big guy, just like Karl, harassing Karl, flexing his muscles, etc. And the referee was Bob Delaney. For the younger listeners right now, Bob Delaney is a former NBA official. Before becoming a full-time official in the NBA, he was a New Jersey State trooper that went undercover, part of the mafia. Undercover now. Yeah. When he was 20-something years old. So with that mentality, he became a referee, and he was fearless in a good way. So he warned the guy one time, hey, fella, I'm simplifying the language, hey, fella, you don't want to do that, do you? As far as harassing Karl, during timeouts. He's right on, literally, on a part of our bench, almost like. And so Bob Delaney kept on warning the guy, and then Bob Delaney said to the guy, hey, listen, besides Karl knocking you out, before Karl does it, I'll knock you out before he does it. And then the guy, of course, took that personal, and he just got up again for the fifth time in a row, got up, and then Bob Delaney kicked him out of the game, and the security guards took him out of there. It took like 5 guys to take him out of there, never to be seen again. So it does happen. There's no place in it for any sports right now, and thank God nothing happened during that.
Just the frustrating thing about it is, like, it's during run of play, an important sequence of the game. And thankfully, nobody's shot got affected by it. They ended up just resetting with a jump ball after reviewing some tape and whatnot. But, man, just kids. Like Gordy said, the fans are so close. If you want to be able to stay close, you can't act like that. I mean, the NBA, if stuff like this continues, if that sort of thing became commonplace, it would look like an NHL game. They'd put up boards, and you wouldn't be able to have those interactions with players, the positive ones.
Yeah, very much. Also, Sean, do you realize that in the Puerto Rican Summer League, was a lot of NBA players, especially fringe guys, playing it for money, that it's the same problem, happens all the time. The guys play in a cage-like.
Wow.
Like around the court, there's like wire cages. And so in Puerto Rico.
It's my kind of league.
So that's
right.
How, Sean, that's the rabid fans in Puerto Rican, as far as the fans, and that's how the players, how they perform at it. You don't want that in the NBA. The NBA, like all sports teams, they want to have the fans interaction. They want to have access to the players during the game where they can really see the intensity of the moment, and that's what happens. So thank God nothing bad during that game. It was a well-played, hard-fought battle with the Knickerbockers winning. So let's see. I'm sure right now, Sean, the NBA security is reviewing right now, how can they stop this again? Maybe they might make some adjustments where an extra 3-4 security people will be looking out for any during timeouts. Remember, Sean, the team security, they're taught during timeouts to look and don't look at the players who they work with. They're taught to what? Look out into the stands to see if anybody's come onto the court. So next time you go to an NBA game, the security by the team, those 3 or 4 people are looking in the crowd. so in case nothing happens to the players.
It's worth noting that even the worst fan behavior in the United States has not yet reached European levels of bad fan behavior. Remember a few years back where Italian soccer, they had to have no fans in the stadium
Right.
for a while. I'm just reading some things here. Inter Milan this season, they had a 3-match travel ban. If you couldn't go to an away game because they were throwing flares on the field. Roma and Fiorentina, supporters from both clubs banned from attending away matches for the rest of this season in 2026 because they were having these major clashes involving weapons on the A1 motorway, the highway between the stadiums. Yikes!
Yeah, but yikes. Also, we left out another component. Oh, by the way, gambling.
Oh yeah.
In other words, so we don't know about that fan last night or his buddies. I'm sure what happens. So a lot of times with young people, just generally speaking, it's almost like peer pressure. I dare you to do that. I'll give you $1,000 to do that. Whatever the numbers might be, and that's what happens. As far as during that course of that incident, he might have been dared by his alleged friends / cohorts.
Yeah, apparently there was a second shooter, so to speak. There was another guy involved. Both of them have been banned for life from NBA games.
Okay.
And you're young. You know how bad that is? When you're in your early 20s, you don't get to go to an NBA game for the rest of your life. Idiots. All right, some comments from the commissioner's office regarding some other business going on around the league as we approach an NBA draft. Obviously, the finals are the headliner here, but you've got an NBA draft coming up. Utah Jazz will be picking number 2 there. A.J. DeBonsa, who played his college ball down at BYU, is expected to be pick number 1. If not that, he would definitely be pick number 2. So Adam Silver, is State of the Union type stuff that we hear from him all the time. One thing that was interesting here, he talked about expansion in the league, Gordy. Wants a firm decision by the end of this year on whether or not Seattle will get a team, Vegas will get a team, etc. Feels like the NBA is a growth property. They're going to add more teams, right?
Yes, they are, very much. They're going to add 2 teams. It's probably going to be Seattle and Las Vegas.
Who's going to move to the East?
Yeah, to the East. It should be Memphis Grizzlies, because the natural partner would be Atlanta Hawks.
Sure.
And possibly Minnesota moving to the Midwest with Chicago and those people, Milwaukee. Possible. And the fallback might be they might move 2 teams from besides Memphis, New Orleans could move to the East End. Because, again, it's the same time zone as far as East Coast and the part of the Central time zone as far as playing it. So that's all part of it. They'll be worked out. I'm assuming, Sean, that they're getting ready for it. It takes roughly 2 full off season to get everything organized. So, again, this is next year's 26-27. I'm assuming that the expansion will start in 28-29.
More intriguing was the conversation about a European league, a European NBA. We know EuroLeague basketball has been a major thing for a long time. You could make an argument that it's the second best league. It's better than the G League for some people. So the proposal is a 16-team league. 12 are permanent teams, permanent NBA-affiliated teams, and then EuroLeague teams that are already existing will have the ability to play into this European NBA. So much like you get with soccer over there, promotion and relegation potentially. I love this. This is something, it's really, really cool in European sport. We don't have anything like it in American sports to have an NBA, an American league in the NBA, be willing to at least explore that possibility. Plenty of details that have to be worked out. I love the idea of an NBA league going over and establishing a footprint in Europe, but also not just saying, hey, we're here to take over. We're going to eliminate, all of this long-standing tradition you've got. Integrating some of the Eurobasket teams would be really neat.
Yeah, very much. So the question right now is the Players Union. Is that who plays in it? Do the players live over there all the time as far as in season, and that how many teams go over there to play. That's the question. They got to work it out, and the players' union will be involved to the ultimate. It's a great concept. Also, FIBA is involved in this. Is that you're saying to FIBA then, which is the governing body of European League, that we think we can do this better than FIBA, than you guys do. And so we'll see how it all plays out. Now, you realize that Luka Doncic and Donnie Nelson Jr., the former general manager of the Dallas Mavericks, they bought a team already.
Interesting.
Yeah, Luka Doncic, in Italy. I want to say to either Milano or Rome. Before I say the wrong thing, I read it recently. So it's either Milano or Rome. Donnie Nelson and Luka Doncic. So
I'm going to look it up. We have these computers. Might as well use them.
So this shows you that there's interest to try and investing in that by NBA players.
Okay, so Vanoli Cremona is the name of the team that they purchased.
Okay.
And they're in the Italian Serie A, so they're top league.
Top A, yeah. Top A league.
And they plan on relocating the team to Rome for the 2026-2027 season.
Yeah, so they're getting ready for it possibly to be entry level into that proposed league right now. So again, sports is global. Oh, by the way, in the sporting world, the whole world's 2 blocks long, Sean. That everyone knows someone else and knows someone else, and that now with the digital footprint of every organization and worldwide, that the direct access at any moment, any second, should say, as far as what is going on around the global sports world. The whole world is 2 blocks long.
I mean,
literally.
it makes perfect sense here. Remember, there was an NFL Europe. There was a time where the global push from the NFL. They had franchises over in Europe, and that is not a sport that has yet been embraced by the European continent. Obviously, basketball has. So potentially, using this, much like the G League is used, player development. I mean, it feels like it could only improve not only the footprint of the game of basketball, but your talent scouting and your development of young players who maybe need another year or two. Oftentimes, those guys end up in EuroLeague. Sometimes they go down to New Zealand. Sometimes they're playing in China, whatever. But this would be really, really cool, and I think beneficial on both ends for the NBA.
Right. You mentioned a magic word about scouting. It's exactly right. So the scouting is absolutely critical internationally. And I have a short segment, Sean, that I wanted to hit upon. It's about BYU basketball. You mentioned about A.J. DeBoncer. Should be the first pick
draft
in the draft
coming up. Should be pick number 1. Had a hilarious appearance on Gilbert Arenas' podcast that we're going to get to later in the show today.
Good. Okay, so here's just a quick synopsis of BYU players selected in the top 10 of the NBA draft. It's a very short numbers. So in BYU basketball history, which is really a tremendous accomplishment, how many guys were picked in the top 10? Here we go. It's only 5 players so far, and AJ will be number 6. So just think about it. Only 6 players total eventually have been in the top 10 in BYU basketball history. Mel Hutchins, back in 1951, was the second pick of the draft, seven-year NBA career. He was a Rookie of the Year, 4-time All-Star. Sean Braley, 1993, second pick of the draft, had a 12-year NBA career. Rafael Araujo, Brazil, in 2004, was the 8th pick of the draft. Sean had a very short 3-year career. Jimmy Fredette was the 10th pick of the draft in 2011, had a 6-year NBA career. Last year, Yegor Demon, Russian, 8th pick of the draft by the Nets. His rookie season, he played only this past year, I should say, 52 games. He had a left foot plantar fasciitis. He averaged 10.3 points per game, 3.3 assists, shot from the field, 39.3%, and three-point range, which is remarkable, 38.3. That's it, Sean. Only 5 guys in previous BYU basketball history were picked in the top 10. And now AJ should be picked by the Wizards number 1. That's how hard it is to be that. Now, people say, what about Danny Ainge? I looked it up, and I thought the same thing. Danny Ainge wasn't picked in the top 10. The answer is no, he was not. Back in 1981, Danny Ainge was picked at number 31, Sean, which was the second round.
Oh, wow.
Second round. And Danny had a wonderful 14-year career, 2 NBA titles with the Celtics, and 1 All-Star appearance also with the Celtics. So the greatest player in BYU NBA history was Danny Ainge, was picked at number 31. Now, let's fast forward, and more importantly, a few weeks from now, that AJ DeBonsa should be picked number 1 by the Washington Wizards. He'll join that very, very short list of people that were picked in the top 10 BYU basketball. Next Thursday, in my studio again, I'm going to give a list of the Utah Utes players as far as picked in the top 10. So we should be loud and proud right now about BYU basketball, AJ DeBonsa, about his going to be future accomplishments.
I'm going to have to do some research to make sure that we can verify this, but because you mentioned Danny Ainge, according to Wikipedia, which of course never lies, Danny Ainge was first-team All-American in high school, first-team All-American in football, basketball, and baseball, and is the only person in history to be named in the Parade magazine first-team All-American in all 3.
That's impossible. And that city was Eugene, Oregon. That's who he grew up in.
Yeah, he was a top Oregon football recruit, played wide receiver. Obviously, he got drafted into Major League Baseball. He got drafted into the NBA.
Sure.
I think he picked the right one. It worked out for him okay in basketball, not only in his career, but obviously he's made a nice life for himself with his post-career accomplishments.
Very much. How about a guy named Sean in yesteryear? We all loved him, Bo Jackson.
Yeah. Bo Jackson couldn't play hoop, though.
I know. But
or maybe he could. Bo. I know
everything
Bo Jackson,
else he could do.
Bo Jackson, you're probably out there listening right now. Maybe you were also a great basketball player. But guys that are that athletic, usually it takes them, about 5 minutes to suddenly get good at everything.
Yeah, and also in pickup games, those guys always come down the floor and dunk and someone's knocking. They play different sports. And Bo Jackson was this unbelievable football player, unbelievable baseball player. You talk about being gifted, fast twitch muscles, which is huge right now, and how he played the game. And he was one of the all-time great all-around athletes. And he had let's say the obvious, he had a winning game.
He was a multi-event track athlete at Auburn University, including being a All-American football player and Heisman Trophy winner. So, the athleticism, it's unfair that some guys have that, but man, that's what we love to watch.
And also for Nike, go on YouTube, look it up, where they had these great commercials with Nike about Bo Jackson and Bo Diddley, and the catchphrase was, "Who knows? Bo knows more." And that's when the commercial was. It was absolutely a hit commercial. It was absolutely, with people resonated. They loved it. But Bo Jackson and this blues singer, jazz man, Bo Diddley. Because, Sean, Bo knows.
There's a legend about Bo Jackson where he was running the decathlon, and there's a 1,500-meter run as part of the decathlon event. He was so far ahead in the decathlon because he had won everything else that he didn't run the 1,500-meter because he hates distance running. So if you do 9 of the 10 and you can still win a decathlon, you are an alien.
Yes, you are.
That's awesome.
So my list today,
I want to hear it,
is iconic NBA players without a championship title. Yeah, these guys. I feel for every guy here, because this list right now, you'll hear about these people. You all know them, and you all respect their game, but unfortunately, they didn't win a championship. Talented players don't win championships. Elite teams do. It's a big difference. So you could be a talented player, but your team is not elite. Here we go. It's a list. Number 25, Devin Booker. Number 24, Dame Lillard. Number 23, James Harden. Number 22, Luka Doncic. Number 21, Chris Paul. Number 20, Alex English. Number 19, Vince Carter. Number 18, Carmelo Anthony. Number 17, Tracy McGrady. Number 16, Chris Webber. Number 15, Bob Lanier. Number 14, Chris Mullin. Number 13, Bernard King. Number 12, Pete Maravich. Number 11, Dan Issel. Number 10, the Eichmann, George Gerving. Number 9, Dominic Wilkins. Number 8, Elgin Baylor. Number 7, A.I., Allen Iverson. Number 6, Reggie Miller. Number 5, Steve Nash. Number 4, Patrick Ewing. Number 3, Charles Barkley. Number 2, John Stockton. Number 1, Karl Malone. These 25 unbelievable players have never won a championship. Quickly, in the present tense, 4 players are now seeking their first coveted NBA title in this year's 2026 NBA Finals. They are going to be either Spurs' Victor Wembanyama or Stephen Castle, or Knickerbockers' Jalen Brunson or Karl Anthony Towns. Finally, those guys or young people might win an NBA title. So that's how hard it is to win a championship. You need other trusted sidekicks to help you form an elite team.
It's pretty unbelievable how many guys you just rattled off that are obvious Hall of Famers, that are some of the best to ever do it, that are so universally expected. And they exist in every sport. We talk about them in football. We talk about them in baseball.
All right, Sean, in football, who would that be, you think?
Dan Marino is a guy who never
yep.
won.
Yep.
Right? He's often considered one of the best quarterbacks, and he's the guy who never actually won a championship. Dan Marino's the first name that jumps to mind for me.
That's a good one, too.
There's a bunch of guys. And in the NBA, you were just talking about like all the favorites of my childhood, like Dominique Wilkins and obviously John and Carl, Reggie Miller, who I didn't love, but you hated the rivalry because of what he was able to do to the Knicks. And
Chris Mullin?
Gosh, if you're Mullin and you're watching what happened with the Warriors long after your retirement, you're like, geez, man, must have been nice. Speaking of the Warriors, we might have an update on a major personnel move for them. You think LeBron James is going to end up with the Golden State Warriors, as some people are starting to report?
It's possible. No, it's absolutely. He'll take a pay cut, and that's okay, as far as him doing it. But again, it'd be the last hurrah for the Warriors as they're dramatically aging. They're saying philosophically, maybe this guy can give us one more chance to be relevant as far as that right now. Remember, last year the Warriors, they got banged up with Jimmy Butler. He was out. They just generally speaking, they were aging and they were hurt. So LeBron is 42 years young, but he'll give them a lot of star power and also ability to score the basket. So we'll see if he takes a pay cut this summer, how it all plays out. No one knows the answer.
Gordell, I want to ask you about this before we let you go, because you spend so much time coaching and then around coaches who've maybe been in these situations, and you've got connections everywhere. In the NFL, we're looking at a really fascinating scenario right now where the Rams are going in. They're all going all in with the trades, and now they might get Aaron Donald to come out of retirement. But it's very clear that this is like a 1 or 2 year thing for them. They're trying to capitalize before Matthew Stafford is gone. And in doing so, they've mortgaged their future. They have said, yeah, we're not going to have any first-round picks for 3 or 4 years. So pretty soon, they're going to be rounding into some sort of rebuild. To be on a coaching staff, to talk to guys that are on a roster, when that's obviously what's happening here, right? It happens in the NBA too, like you just mentioned with the Warriors. Hey, guys, we're going to take a big swing here. We're going to try to get LeBron in the building potentially, and we're just going to roll. What's it like being on the roster? What's it like being in the room when you know, hey, it's do or die this year, or it's do or die within these next 2 years?
Yeah, the window is absolutely short, and that everything is based on short term. There's less player development, Sean. There's more playing the game as far as veterans. So that's how they lean it, and that they're trying to convince, on average, Sean, 10-year veterans to play for the minimum contract, which last year, if you're a 10-year veteran, it was $3.63 million. Now, LeBron wouldn't do that. He'll play for, I'm just guessing, let's say $15 to $20 million, which is still a lot of money in the real world. but in the basketball world, it's above the mid-level exception, which is 15.1 million. So what it's like, everything is based on short term. There's no 3 or 5 year plan like most other successful businesses or franchises. It's right now. They're trying. Remember, Steph Curry, Sean, he's still an unbelievable player, but he's going to be 37 years old. And so this is coming to the end right now. So they know that, and they're going to try to just have one more swing at it to go out and then start over again. We'll see, but it's fascinating off season. For all the NBA fans, the draft's going to be on June 23rd. But really, after that comes free agency, which is July 1st. And also, free agency is not the first initial push of it. It's the whole month of July, basically. And most people wait. They try to sign, but you can get a discount on a player if you wait until maybe July 20th to maybe the first week of August. That's when you can get a good player who thinks he deserves more money. You can get him a discount rate to help your team right now. So again, it's the time frame of players, and we'll see how it all plays out. And Utah Jazz basketball, they'll be front and center right now as far as the draft. Picking number 2, they're going to get absolutely a tremendous young fella talent that probably will be an all-star between Sean, his third year to 5th year. That guy will be an all-star, whoever they pick. That's how talented number 1 through 4 are. And it's going to be a great draft, top of it right now. And there'll be other surprises also. Let's not forget, Sean, the last point before we go to break is that, by the way, if you watched last night's game, let's not forget, Jalen Brunson was the 33rd pick of the draft. That's what shows you that you can't measure, Sean, heart and courage.
We've got plenty more basketball still. Game 1 goes to the New York Knicks. Going to be a fascinating series. Game 2 of the Stanley Cup Finals is going to be tonight. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about much more. And we've got some hilarious sound of A.J. DeBonsa twisting Gilbert Arenas' brain into a pretzel. We'll play that for you next in the Daily Dump. Big thanks to Gordy for joining us. Big thanks to Aladdin Industries for making it possible. It's the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. The truck with the duck, they can handle your plumbing needs, your heating needs, your air conditioning needs. Most importantly, they'll do it quickly. They'll do it affordably. Tell them OC sent you. They'll hook you up extra quick. Look for valleyplumbing.com and make an appointment there. You don't even have to pick up the phone. You don't have to call anybody. Excuse me. All right, we have to play this sound for you. AJ DeBonsa went on a podcast, and Gilbert Arenas, very interesting personality, longtime NBA player, of course, all-star. Gilbert Arenas had some things to say. It's called The Arena, which is, let's be honest, it's a great name for a podcast when your name is Gilbert Arenas. Well, you know what? Just I'm gonna let James play the sound so you can get a sense of just how awkward this exchange became between a guy who's projected to be the number 1 overall pick and a longtime NBA star.
And the spotlight is coming to you. So if the spotlight is going to come to you, then I'm going to keep you home because it's
Boston.
It's your city. No, Utah.
That's not home.
It's not home for you, but it's been home for the last few years,
Right.
and that is your city right now, right? So
Utah's also not a city, by the way.
What is it?
Salt Lake City.
A state.
What do they call it?
What do they call it?
I mean, I'm just be honest. We didn't pay attention to Utah, so that's different. You know what I mean?
Salt Lake City was the city that you played in when you played against the Utah Jazz.
What?
And then BYU's in pro.
You gotta be trolling.
Yeah.
You gotta be
I
trolling.
mean, it was just one of those.
This is amazing. First of all, I can't tell you how much I love AJ DeBonsa correcting Gilbert Arenas like that. Right? There's oftentimes when you're discussing the relationship between a veteran, an established guy versus someone who's coming up the ranks like an AJ DeBonsa, you might let it slide. Might just be like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to say anything. But he corrected him twice in about 10 seconds right there.
And one of them's concerning for people like, well, maybe formerly people like UOC. They were like, AJ's the safer pick because he's going to stay here long term because he loves BYU and his parents, and he went to high school here, his last year of high school, and his parents moved out here with him. He quickly said, Utah's not home.
Well, I'm not concerned by that, and here's why, right? If you ask James Peterson, James, what's your hometown?
St. George.
You don't live in St. George. When's the last time you lived in St. George?
A while ago, yeah.
Why are you calling it your hometown then?
Yeah, you're right, because that's where I'm from.
That's like, we all do that. You know what I mean? So I think that's what AJ was doing there.
He said, remember, I'm from Boston.
Yeah, because he said, right? He's like, I'm keeping you in your city. And AJ's like, Boston? And Gilbert was still talking, so you almost couldn't hear it. And he's like, no. He's like, no, home, Utah. And he's like, oh, but Utah's not home. That's not his hometown. And it's not, and it never will be. And maybe that is something that you have to worry about. And it, obviously wipes out a lot of the argument I made why maybe you should consider drafting AJ DeBonsa, doing what it takes to draft AJ DeBonsa, because if he is still, and obviously he is, if he's still correcting people on saying, well, my home is Boston, Massachusetts. They happen to have a basketball team there that if he ends up being the player that we think he's going to end up being, will at some point probably want him. And actually the timing on that might work out pretty well for Boston, because by then you're getting like an aging and often injured Jason Tatum, and you're getting a more aged situation from Jaylen Brown. And now you're like, all right, well, we need the heir apparent. We need our next star. So maybe that's enough, right? AJ is going to get drafted by Washington anyway, but he's not going to stay in Washington. He's going to go to Boston. And that would be painful for Utah Jazz fans to lose another star to the Boston Celtics. as we saw with Gordon Hayward. And that was a guy where it was just like, well, of course he loves Utah. Look at him.
Look, yeah, as Spence Checketts
He looks like a
says,
returned missionary.
as Spence Checketts says, the Jazz couldn't keep the white guy who likes to play video games.
Yes.
Like that was Gordon Hayward.
Although you did keep one white guy who likes video games. Andre Kirilenko did a lot of good things in Utah.
Yeah.
And he was a big World of Warcraft guy. And, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. The voice, just for people who haven't seen it, the voices you heard, obviously Gilbert Arenas and AJ DeBonsa. Then he has his podcast partner there. His podcast partner was the one who awkwardly said, when you played the Jazz, you played in Salt Lake City. That's the city you played in. And AJ is the one going, you gotta be tripping. You gotta be tripping right now, man.
It really is alarming when you see like a lot of the, you know, there's a ton of this on social media, like the man on the street where the guys with the little microphones will just quiz people on what should be very, very basic information. Gilbert Arenas, you can be forgiven if you've never visited Utah for not really knowing the difference between what is Utah, where is Utah. Now, I think every American should know what is a state and what is a city.
Absolutely. That's a failure in either an education system or in that person's ability to learn, to not know that thing.
It's downright silly. But you get a more of a pass, right? If it's a place that you have never been, you will never go, and you're just like, sorry, I don't know where Tuscaloosa is.
Yeah.
Where is that?
I think it's a lot more forgiving to not know a specific town, city, however famous it is, not know what state that city is in. You don't know, like Tuscaloosa is a great example. You're not a college football fan. You may not know that that's in Alabama.
Yeah, you
right?
probably just like,
and that should, in my opinion, everyone should get a pass for that if that's the case. Even if you are a college football fan, you don't know it's in Alabama, it's fine.
If you're 40 and you don't know that Utah's a state,
yeah, that's I mean,
duh. And you've been here 10 times. Come on, Gil.
That's unforgivable. He also played college basketball at Arizona. I don't know if he ever played the Utes when he might have played some non-conference games when back then they were not in the same conference, obviously. But he was in the state bordering the place he thought is a city. It's just unforgivable by Gilbert Arenas.
Gilbert, you shouldn't make yourself sound dumb.
Also, this is a recorded podcast. Edit that out. Like,
no, I'm so glad they didn't.
I'm glad they did too because it's hilarious. But if I'm in that position, I'm editing that out. I'm not letting that stand.
Great stuff by Gilbert Arenas too. To look moronic there. Your guy Russell Wilson has confirmed reports that he's retiring. He's going to join CBS Sports on their NFL coverage.
Yeah, give me a studio analyst. He's gonna slide into Matt Ryan's role that Matt Ryan has held for the last few years.
Can I be honest? Russell Wilson for me is like the Kawhi Leonard of the NFL, where I appreciate your ability, especially prime Russell Wilson was fun to watch. He was good. He never played for a team that I liked or cared about, so I don't have any particular affection for it. Obviously, he's an incredible athlete. By all accounts, he's a pretty good businessman. He must be because he convinced that woman to marry him, Sierra. But I don't like listening to him talk. Every interview I've seen with Russell Wilson, I'm like, he's kind of corny. He's kind of bizarre. I don't want him on TV.
Yeah, Robotic Russ is one of his nicknames for that reason. Yeah, I'm not into Russell Wilson, the speaker, just like you. So, and I'm not. Is he really still the star that a network's going to be like, yeah, we're going to, or should be like, yeah, we're going to center our, and then center's maybe not the right word, but we're going to center our broadcast, our NFL broadcast around that guy. I don't know. I feel like Russell Wilson's star has always been a little bit too inflated. And I think that's still the case right now, but that's fine. I mean, it's not like CBS has had an incredible former star player on their broadcast since like Dan Marino and Shannon Sharp left. So I guess it's par for the course.
Did you hear the Chicago mayor telling his traffic story, talking about how bad traffic was at Soldier Field?
No, I missed that.
Okay. This is just another example of why, unless you're an actual sports fan as a politician, and plenty of them are, right? We've got sports fans here in political office in the state of Utah who I think have like some informed takes, some reasonable opinions, sometimes unreasonable, but there's plenty of politicians who feel like they should talk about sports because it's part of their own like voting base's life, and they have no idea what they're actually doing. Well, Chicago's mayor, I didn't realize this until I read the article. He's pretty embattled. There's a lot of people who find him to be quite incompetent, and that is often the case with mayoral candidates and or mayors in large cities. They were talking about the traffic at Soldier Field as part of this whole, potential relocation of the Bears and of Soldier Field, of the Bears' home stadium, I should say, to Hammond, Indiana, to the other site that they were talking about in another Chicago suburb. And he was like, yeah, man, you know how bad the traffic is? I went to a Bears game, and I was leaving early because the Bears were losing, and it was a Packers game, which is, of course, going to make people that we were getting beat by the Packers, so I decided to leave early to beat the traffic. You're a politician. Never admit that you did that, okay? Ever. All the Bears fan voters should be like, oh, you're one of those? You're one of those guys? And the point he was trying to make, and he thought he was getting a win here.
Thought he was cooking.
He's like, you know how bad traffic is? We're getting beat by the Packers. I decide I'm leaving to beat traffic, and the Bears came back and won. I was still in the parking lot in my car when they came back and won. That's how bad the traffic is. And everyone's just like, okay, idiot.
Hold on. He's not talking about the playoff game where they came back and beat the Packers, is he? That makes it even worse.
Did they come back and beat the Packers in another game?
There might have been one in the regular season I'm not thinking of right now, but that certainly happened in the playoff game at Soldier Field this year. That's a bad look.
I think it's the playoff game.
That's a bad look by the mayor of your city.
So I'm at the playoff game. I'm like, let me get out of here to beat the traffic. And then Caleb Williams hits Rome Odunze on 4th and 8, and I'm listening to it in my car. I haven't even gotten out of the parking lot yet. That is tone deaf of the highest order.
Also, if the Packers had won that game, you're also pissing off the base because they're like, thanks for reminding us. We hate the Packers, and we've lost to a bunch of times until last year, a bunch of times in a row. Thank you for reminding us another heartbreak there. Thank goodness the Bears won. They aren't mad about that part. But, yeah, that's terrible. He thought he was cooking like let Russ cook. Call back to Russell Wilson news.
No.
He's like, let me cook, Mr. Mayor.
So, and by the way, this was on a sports talk radio show in Chicago. So it was sports fans that were listening, Bears fans that were listening. So this guy, Brandon Johnson, when you inevitably get voted out of office because you're tone deaf and admit things like this out loud on an interview that is never ever going to go away. I want him to be a guy who's on like reality television shows. Like I want to see this guy on Survivor because you're just going to be one of the dummies that everything goes wrong for. Wowza. Really incredible. All right. That's it for the Daily Dump, brought to you by our friends at Valley Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. Look for the truck with the duck. If you see one, you can't just wave them down. You do have to make a phone call, or you can go to valleyplumbing.com and create an appointment online for them to check out your air conditioner for them to make sure that your furnace, while you're not using it, is all in running order, or plumbing, drain cleaning, any of those needs you have. And sooner than later, we're going to get to announce another service that Valley Plumbing is adopting for all of their clients. In fact, word on the street is they're already doing it for people. If they just, they're rolling it out. We're in the soft launch right now. So excited for the truck with the duck when it comes to that also. All right, we'll give you a little bit more sound. Our guy Eric Weddle got on the wrong side. Got on the wrong side of Michigan fans, and he was critical of Bryce Underwood. And so he went on the Rich Eisen show, and I think he clarified his meaning and his statement. We'll give you some of that sound, and we've got a PGA Tour leaderboard update from the Memorial next. It's the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. I lied to you. We're going to give you the Weddle sound a little bit later in the show. Right now, we got a PGA Tour leaderboard update from the Memorial Tournament for you, brought to you by our friends at Uinta Golf by Worldwide Golf. Father's Day sales happening right now. Check out the Father's Day gifts, the range fighters, the golf shirts for dads, the golf spikes for dads, the bags, and, of course, the clubs, all available at Uinta Golf by Worldwide Golf. Multiple shops up and down the Wasatch Front. A great deal all the time, but especially for their Father's Day sale. Tell them OC sent you when you go and you grab your clubs or your gloves or whatever it is. What's happening at the Memorial, James?
JJ Spawn is your leader. He's actually tied for the lead with Wyndham Clark and Tommy Fleetwood, all tied for first at 5 under. They're already through their round. Right behind them is a couple guys tied for fourth, Nick Taylor and Ryan Gerard. They're both at 4 under. Taylor's done for the day. Gerard still has 4 holes left, so he's got a chance to be the leader of the clubhouse here with a good finish to his first round. Tied for 6th, a few guys, including Sam Burns and Justin Rose, at 3 under, a couple shots off the lead. Tied for 9th, our guy Tony Finau's in the group, tied for 9th at 2 under, Rose Park's own. That's nice to see for Tony. He's had a bit of a rough year, injuries and such. He's through 14, so he's got 4 more holes left there to improve on that score. Siwoo Kim's in that group as well. Shane Lowry, the Irishman's in that group. And that rounds out your top 10. Ludwig Oberg's also in that group at 2 under, 3 shots off the lead. Good start for Tony Finau on day 1 of the Memorial OC. That's your PGA Tour leaderboard update brought to you by You Into Golf.
Nice of you to play, Tony. Good to see you in a tournament. Good to see you back on the course, Mr. Finau. He's been taking a little time off. Love to see it. All right. James has locked up George Sedano for us in our next segment. He's part of the extensive full court press coverage by ABC and ESPN and the entire family of networks that are covering these NBA finals. We'll talk a little game 1, maybe some of the changes coming for the NBA. George Sedano on the Sean O'Connell Show next, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. All right, joining us now on the Sean O'Connell Show, one of the hardest working guys in sports at the moment, George Sedano on the ESPN coverage of these NBA finals. He's got his own radio show. You hear him on play-by-play. Sometimes you'll see him on a sideline. He's even made Greg Popovich smile during an interview. George Sedano, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hey, how are you, man? Thanks for having me.
Game one of these NBA finals, and New York Knicks come away with a 10-point victory. How close did that thing play out to the way you thought it would?
It did not play out the way I thought it would. I thought that when San Antonio particularly pulled away and was up 14 in the third quarter, that they would just kind of cruise after that. And I think the problem was they also felt that way. And it looks like they took their foot off the gas a little bit. Now, they went to some substitutions, to some backups there, and the game got away from them pretty quickly there. All of a sudden, it went from 14-6 very quickly. And then even when Benyama and some of the starters came back in, they were in a real dogfight at that particular point. But there were a few things that that surprised me. I would say from the San Antonio side, how far Benyama started when he was initiating offense from the basket. The average was about 17 feet, which is way too far for someone like him. That's the second furthest he's had this postseason. I believe it was Game 3 of the Portland series in the first round, which was the one with where he started a little further away from the basket. And that was certainly a thing that we saw during the Western Conference Finals too, that he kind of floated in and out in regards to how close or far he was from the basket. But their success clearly is when he's closer. The other thing, the thing that didn't surprise me, though, was Jalen Brunson finishing the game the way he did, because that's just who he's been. He was the most clutch player 2 years ago in the NBA, and he continues to be one of them, if not the most clutch player in the sport. And we saw that on full display, despite having real struggles early on, both from an injury perspective and from an efficiency perspective.
So the Victor Wembanyama question is, can he take over in a series like this against a team like New York? And Karl Anthony Towns and Mitch Robinson did a good job against him in game one. I don't anticipate he's going to have many games where he turns the ball over 6 times and shoots poorly from 3 and shoots poorly from the field. And maybe it is a product of what you were saying, initiating that offense too far away from the basket. There's obviously a lot more to it for San Antonio than just getting better games out of Victor Wembanyama. But, the way that he is coached and the adjustments that we saw them make in the Western Conference Final with him in particular, do we get that for game 2 when they take on New York again?
Oh, yeah. I think their level of execution was subpar yesterday in a lot of different ways. So I would imagine we'll see him be a lot better in this next game. I mean, think about it. He had a really bad game 5 in the Western Conference Finals, and then I thought played phenomenally in game 6. And then in game 7, he played very well as well against Oklahoma City. So I'm not worried. Much like him, I know he said something similar yesterday in his press conference. I feel like San Antonio will fight back and we'll be 1-1 heading back to New York. But to me, the one thing, if I'm San Antonio, you need to figure out what's going on with De'Aaron Fox, because I know he's been dealing with some injuries, but it felt at times watching him that the moment might have been a little big for him. And I think that he just looked really hesitant at times out there.
I was about to ask you who the second most important player in this series is for San Antonio. And if he's going to continue to play poorly, I think it makes him by default on the wrong end of the spectrum a more important player than maybe they want him to be. But is there a fix?
Yeah, I mean, listen, he's a veteran, man. This is something he's going to have to work through. And I get it. He's dealing with some injuries still, probably that ankle. It was a high ankle sprain. You don't recover from that very quickly. So I'm not trying to give him an excuse. It is the reality of what he's dealing with. But if you're playing, that's the deal. Like, the expectation is you're going to play, at the very least, at a level of basketball where you're not going to be a detriment to the team. I would say this. The one thing I would look at if I were San Antonio is playing Dylan Harper more. I know he hasn't played a ton more than 28 minutes per game in any game this postseason, but he's young and he's certainly capable. And I thought he was their best player on the floor last night. I do think Stephon Castle can give them a little more, although what he gives them defensively is so impressive too. He's as good a point of attack defender as anyone in the sport, I think, right now, and he's only in his second year. But, yeah, I think that guard play just needs to be better. They're at their best when Victor's doing his thing, and those 3 guards are cooking too, for sure.
We had Gordy Chiesa in studio earlier today, longtime NBA assistant, and he pointed out the quirky, fun little stat that Josh Hart, nobody except for Dennis Rodman has had a game like he had in Game 1 with 15 rebounds and no turnovers, and he only scored 3 points. But his role in this series, is that it? Is that what we're going to see from him, where he's just that guy making those hustle plays, crashing the boards on both ends, and sometimes, occasionally, making Wembanyama's life difficult?
Yeah, that's what he's best suited for. That's for sure. It's funny you mentioned Dennis Rodman because that was the same comparison that Karl Anthony Towns just made to me just literally less than an hour ago when he and I were talking about Josh Hart's impact. And yeah, I mean, I think that's just what he does. He's a disruptor on defense. He's an energy player. He's a hustle player. If he gives you baskets, to me, that's a bonus. That's just gravy. And I know he had that monster game against Cleveland, but to me, what you saw yesterday is really the epitome of what Josh Hart brings to the table.
This series, obviously, you got another one in San Antonio, but if the ticket prices are any indication, what this thing is going to be when it heads back to the Garden will be for the ages. What do you anticipate when this series gets back to New York?
It's a great question. I'm expecting everything and anything. Like, I don't know what to expect, I guess. Expect the unexpected when we get to New York. The energy will be off the charts. I've been in a lot of NBA arenas in my career, and I don't think we'll ever be able to anticipate what we're going to get for that Game 3 at the Garden with this Knicks team in the finals. As likable a Knicks team as they've maybe ever had, to be honest with you, at least in my lifetime. I wasn't around when Willis Reed and those guys won the championship. And certainly those Patrick Ewing teams were fun to watch in a lot of ways, but I don't know if they had the type of endearing characters that this particular group has, at least to the general public, I would say. Certainly to New Yorkers, but I think just overall, they're just a very likable team, which is not something you normally correlate with the Knicks.
George Sedano is our guest here on the Sean O'Connell Show for a couple more minutes. He's on the coverage for these NBA Finals. Game 1 went to New York in San Antonio. The Spurs will try to even it up before they head back to New York, where, as I just mentioned, ticket prices are absolutely insane, and it is going to be quite the spectacle. And at the risk of leaning into a tired trope, this series feels like a win-win for the NBA, because either your biggest rising star gets his first NBA championship, or the New York Knicks win an NBA championship, and the largest media market and this legendary team, this franchise that hasn't had that kind of success in a long time, climbs back to the top of the mountain. But if the league office had its druthers, if there was one thing that serves the NBA better, is it Wemby starting his run of maybe generational greatness now with a championship, or is it this New York Knicks team capping off one of the great stories in the NBA?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's a tough question, but what I would say is I don't think this Knicks team is a generational team, where I think Wembanyama is a generational player, and I think the Spurs are set up for success for a really long time with Stephon Castle and Dylan Harper as part of a big three with Wembanyama, and I think they will get their championship or championships. So I think the better story for 2026 would be the Knicks ending their 53-year drought and having that one championship that they can celebrate, and having New York just go bonkers. So yeah, I think it would be that. If you're making me kind of like split hairs here, it would probably be that. But I think any of the two results, to your point earlier, would be fantastic for the league.
I want to get away from the finals here for a second, because we've got a very exciting NBA draft coming up for fans here in Salt Lake City. The Jazz drafting number 2. Obviously, A.J. DeBonsa and Darren Peterson are considered the top 2 talents here. And we've had these conversations back and forth like, well, do you have to care about which guy will want to stay longer in Salt Lake City? Because A.J.'s got these obvious links to the state and to the franchise, and Darren Peterson doesn't necessarily. You're all over the league, right? You get to go to every NBA arena, and you get to talk to these players on a level that we never get to. And so maybe you could tell me, we're getting these surveys that come out that Utah is they're not the bottom of the league when it comes to player perception and where would you least like to play. That's Memphis for now. But do you get a sense that Salt Lake City, that the Utah Jazz are maybe becoming, if not more desirable, at least less of a pariah in the NBA?
Yeah, look, I like Ryan. I think people like Ryan. I think that it starts there, right? I think that with Ainge and that group there building something, I think that that helps, right? I think when you're losing, that makes things even worse. You know what I mean? And they have chosen to take a certain path for a while now. But that fan base in that building is as good as any in the league when the team is good. I don't think there's any question. I would say that they're very supportive even when the team is not very good. But when the team is rocking, I mean, that place is insane. And it's tough for opposing players. So for the home team, it's fantastic. But yeah, look, I think Utah being good again would be good for the West because there's plenty of history there. I think that there's already natural rivalries that could take place. And, again, I just think that they will be back on track. They got a good owner. They got a good front office. And I don't think you can go wrong with either guy. Obviously, Devonta makes a ton of sense for obvious reasons. And I understand the hesitation with Peterson, too. But he is as good a player as anyone in this draft. And as far as the scorer, he might be the best guy. So it really just depends on what it is, you guys need and how the draft ends up falling to you. I think either guy is going to put you guys in a really good spot. And I think that now that the team is focused on winning again, I think that everything will start to kind of work itself out. And that includes players wanting to play there.
And I guess this circles back to the finals, but the Jazz, it's fun rounding into a time where tanking is going to be punished when you don't have to tank. That's good for the Utah Jazz. And we think that they'll actually get out there and they'll compete and maybe be like a playoff team sooner than later. And then you look at the West and you look at San Antonio already being in the finals in Victor Wembanyama's third year, and you look at an Oklahoma City team that maybe have some salary things to work out, but they're a young team with, a championship under their belt and a bunch of star potential. And you look at it and say, well, you can't just get good if you're the Utah Jazz. You have to get really dang good, and you probably have to do so fast because you're going to have to be competing with this San Antonio team, with this version of Oklahoma City, at least for a couple more years. Who knows what Denver's going to be in the near future? Who knows who else is on the come up? So as the Jazz try to close that gap, how big is it?
Oh, it's pretty big, but it starts with you guys putting together a team. And again, it goes back to the group that you have there, understanding what it takes to win, right? It's not going to be an easy task by any stretch of the imagination because I think that not only San Antonio, but to your point, Oklahoma City, to me, is not going anywhere anytime soon. I actually think Oklahoma City, I agree with what Jalen Williams said post that series, right? If he's healthy, they win. And they probably end up winning the title again, in my opinion, because they're the deepest team in the sport. So yeah, there's a gap. There's no question about that. But the interesting part about this league and the way it's currently structured is that the financial ramifications, not to bore your audience too much, of the salary structure and the salary cap structure is so punitive. It's just hard to keep teams together for too long. Like you've got windows of 3 to 5 years max in most cases. So I think because of that, there will be opportunities for other teams here, within a certain amount of time.
George, I know you're up against it, and we appreciate you giving us some time today. I know it's a busy time with the finals happening right now. So thank you. We'll have you on again soon.
You got it. Thanks for having me.
George Sedano on the finals coverage for ESPN. He hosts his own radio show in Los Angeles. He is a Southern California lifer, and you'll see him and hear him sometimes on college football coming up this fall. Great stuff from George Sedano. Big thanks to James for making that one happen because, like I said, that it's a very, very busy time of year for George Sedano. I know we touched on this a little bit earlier, and maybe you're out there listening like, why does he get so obsessed with these things? Well, because the fan experience in sports, to me, is a good one. It's an important one. It's It's something that we cannot lose a connection to, and we've had these conversations at different points with every sport, right? NFL season tickets are now punitively expensive because you don't just have to pay for the tickets. You have to pay for the personal seat licensing fee, which just doesn't make sense, right? Every new stadium that's built, you go through this process where the local news there will cover, this family that's had season tickets for 50 years can't renew now because it costs $50,000 per seat plus the cost of the actual tickets, right? And we were talking about this with Gordy Chiesa earlier. If you want to go to the Garden for one of these NBA Finals games, you can't be a normal person. You can't be a normal fan. I mean, look, we were talking about the Winter Classic, right? Coming to Salt Lake City, those tickets are crazy expensive relative to what we're used to. But, you know, if you're fortunate enough, and I knock on wood that right now I am, if you're fortunate enough to be able to afford a couple of tickets to maybe take your nephew or go with your sister or hang out with mom and dad at a game and have it be a bucket list kind of thing, cool. You'll fork over the $500, $600. It's going to cost you $8,000 to get into the building at Madison Square Garden. Now, if you have $8,000 to spend on a ticket, good for you. Are you going to go by yourself? No. So it's going to cost you $16,000? I mean, you got to know somebody. We're going to talk with Spence Checketts about this. He had some designs on trying to attend one of these games, I think. Like he's thinking about it. Can I go to game 3? Can I go to game 4? And he's somebody who was raised in the organ, and obviously, you know, he's got connections that the rest of us don't have. But if he goes, he's going to be sitting in a $25,000 seat. How can you do this? Especially when you're already paying to live in New York, presumably. The other side of it is the fact that you can go to a game in San Antonio for 1/10 the cost. That's a real number. Now, it's still expensive to go to a finals game in San Antonio. But if your Utah Jazz are 5 years from now in the NBA Finals, you'll probably pay $700, $800. You'll pay $1,000 to sit in a seat to watch the Utah Jazz play against the Philadelphia 76ers or the Washington Wizards or the Atlanta Hawks. Wouldn't it be nice to see the Atlanta Hawks actually do something for once? You'd probably pay that. Would you pay $20,000? No. Now, New York has that, right? New York has, I mean, they're the most, the biggest economy in our country from a localized standpoint, if I'm not mistaken. They've got all these corporate schmucks that are there that are making big time money. Their equivalent of the door-to-door sales bro is the finance guys that are like on Wall Street. And I guess those numbers are a little bit different. But, man, I can't get over this. How, as a sports fan, you are expected to actually try to make this live, to try to make this work. Well, they have a Ben Stiller cam on television right now from his courtside seat, which, by the way, I'm sure that, like, he has to pay for on some level, right? Ben Stiller doesn't just get free tickets to a Knicks game, right?
I mean, he could.
Is Timothy Chalamet and Kylie Jenner, they're sitting front row at the Knicks game. They're probably getting a free ticket, right? Because they're like the hottest stars in the world right now.
I mean, those two, bigger deal than Ben Stiller is right now, but Ben Stiller is not a big deal just because he's a lot older now.
He's still, in like big time.
Yeah,
there'll be another.
There's a I forget the name of it, but there's a new Meet the Parents coming out.
I'm glad.
I know that
you didn't say it.
I know it's.
you probably do know the name of it.
No, I know that it's got Greg's last name in it, but I don't remember exactly what it is. So yeah,
gotta be careful.
meet the Greg's last name. No, with Ariana Grande, like that's his first movie in a really long time, but he's directed a lot of movies. He's still to you and I, he's still a big deal.
I would love to know, like where the threshold, like Timothy Chalamet, you're giving Lisan Al Gaib, you're giving the dude from Dune, you're giving Paul Atreides.
Yes.
You're giving him that. You're giving Marty Supreme a free ticket because he's what he is.
He's arguably the biggest movie star in the world right now, Timothy Chalamet.
I think he is.
Maybe it's inarguable.
I think he's like. I mean, as far as young guys go, I think it's inarguably.
As far
him.
as 12-year-olds go, he's incredible.
Yeah, and the fact that he's with a Kardashian with that. It's like they're like Voltroning up. They're like Power Rangers, right? So, yeah, I'm sure that Jimmy Dolan and the Madison Square Garden crew are just like, we have whatever it is, 50 seats every night that we're going to give away.
Here's a pair
to the glitz and the glam to show, like, these are the people, make it look like the coolest ticket in town. But is Ben Stiller still there? What is the threshold?
I think he could be.
I hope he is, because Ben Stiller's like, he's legendary. He's awesome.
I think he could be.
Okay, so
the son of Frank Costanza. Come
think
on
of it.
now.
Okay, at Madison Square Garden. Now, if we talk about a Salt Lake City finals game, right, and the Delta Center having like, all right, we're going to give 50 tickets away to the absolute royalty. You don't even have 50 that qualify in Salt Lake City.
Yeah, Ryan Smith is trying to convince us all that there's 50 he can round up, but there's.
I mean, if Carl wants to come, if John Stockton wants to come, if Andre Kirilenko, I still give him one.
Yeah,
right. You give
Lindsey
the greats,
Vaughn lives in Summit County.
You give him to Lindsey Vaughn. You get Kalani Sitake front row. You get Morgan Scalley front row.
If he who shall not be named wants to fly in from Ann Arbor.
You would probably
give him.
You'd probably hook him up as well, right? So, I think that, but with the New York Knicks, can you imagine going through the list of requests?
Yeah.
There's guys, does George Costanza count? Does Jason Alexander get a free ticket?
Jerry Seinfeld's still a big enough deal
and
here.
You know what? Jerry, yes. George, yes. Kramer, you ain't getting a free ticket. Sorry. Elaine?
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, she's done a lot
She's a
of
bigger
other
deal
big
than
things.
George.
Yes, she's
Veep was great.
I love Veep.
Right? But in New York, you're going, okay, Patrick Ewing, yes, you get one. Charles Oakley, no, he doesn't even get to request it.
He's been blackballed.
Willis Reed, okay. John Starks, sorry, man, you can't come for free. You got to buy a ticket. You know how crazy it is how that's got to be in New York City?
Yeah.
Spence Checketts, you make the list. You're in.
I see. He's joked about he's probably on the list of Dolan's security team. You got to watch that guy and his dad everywhere they go, like they do some people in that arena.
Yeah, he's on the.
Oh, by the way, and the Sphere in Vegas and all the other places that he owns. Right.
They're building a new Sphere. Where's that going?
Is that really?
Abu Dhabi?
Oh,
I think that's right.
Maybe they don't. I mean. Don't go there if you value your privacy.
You know what's funny? That. When we did the last PFL show in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, they have a sphere. It's not an MGM sphere. They have a sphere. It's just like they stole the idea.
Okay. Does it look similar?
It's the exact same.
Okay, so
it's just smaller.
Okay.
It's just like there's like a 2-size replica, 50%.
There's Davis County, in a rural area of Davis County, they've got I don't know if it's a water tower or what it is, but it looks like a little soccer ball-ish thing with on a tower. I always joke that's our Sphere, there.
You're talking about up on top of the mountain?
No.
Oh.
It's in an empty field.
Okay, because there's like a weather station.
No
up
weather.
There somewhere.
Yeah, There's lots of weather stations. This looks like a similar type thing, but it's a little spherical thing. I'm like, yeah, I love the sphere.
So if you're a celebrity right now, the way that you gauge how big a deal you are is you send a ticket request to Madison Square Garden for this Game 3 or Game 4 of the NBA Finals.
And do you have to pay for them or not?
If they're like, yeah, sure, we reserve a ticket for you, it's going to cost you $50,000. Then you know you're like a B, like you're like an A- celebrity. You have to be the A+ celebrity if you're getting a free ticket to one of these games.
Is Tracy Morgan one of the A+ celebrities?
So Tracy Morgan, for me, I've never been a fan of anything he's done. However, he's like a big-time New York celebrity.
Yeah.
Like, he's very New York.
And
Spike
Lee is not as he's not as big a deal as he used to be, but because he's like grandfathered into probably free tickets because he is the Knicks fan base.
Like, if you're Spike Lee, you're in a, you know how they have rent-controlled apartments?
Yeah.
You have rent-controlled tickets.
Yeah, exactly.
Where you're paying the same season ticket
what he
price.
paid for in the 80s, yeah.
They're just like, dude, it's the same price as it was in 1992, Spike. He's like, cool.
$50 a seat. All right.
Anyway.
You know how much $50 a seat could have gotten you? $50 could have gotten you in 1992, though. I mean, it went a lot longer way.
You're right.
I don't know because that's the year I was born. But
I was 9. I was buying stuff already.
Old guy.
I was buying trading cards back then. Like,
ripping packs
at the card shop, man. I had a very hilarious debate with my dad because I was trying to use allowance money to buy this Patrick Ewing rookie card. That was I was a Patrick Ewing fan.
Yeah,
and I was like, I'm gonna take my chore money and I'm gonna go spend. I think it was $6. I'm not even joking. I think it was $6 on one card, which in those days was like 6 packs of cards.
Yeah,
right. And I was like, I'm going to go buy this for $6. I only have $10 to my name. I'm going to go buy this for $6. And my dad was like, no, you're not, because that is not valuable. There's no intrinsic value to that card. That card means nothing. It's a piece of cardboard. I'm like, no, it's not. It's a Patrick Ewing rookie card. And we had the Beckett. You ever even heard of a Beckett guide? There used to be a magazine that you could look up the market price of like every card.
Oh, okay.
It was like a hardcover. It was like not hardcover, but it was like an actual physical. It was the Beckett, and they would renew them. Showed you the value, and there was like a range. And I'm like, no, that's like I should buy that. Now people are buying cards for $5 million, and my dad was like, no, that's $6. No way, you're not spending your money. You've earned this money.
That's 60% of your lifetime earnings.
60% of your net worth, son. Dad, come on. Anyway.
That's Patrick Ewing.
Don't you know? All right, we have another PGA Tour leaderboard update for you. We also have sound from Eric Weddle on The Rich Eisen Show. It's the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. PGA Tour leaderboard update from the Memorial. Brought to you by our friends at Uinta Golf by Worldwide Golf. Father's Day sales are happening right now. They have hundreds of items, $100 or less. Golf shirts, golf pants, club heads. You've got range finders, even range finders, right at that $100 mark. Tell them OC sent you when you head into the physical stores at Uinta Golf all up and down the Wasatch Front. James Peterson, what's the leaderboard looking like?
So hold on. You're telling me you have to pay for something to help you find the driving range? Is that what I heard?
Wah, wah.
Ryan Gerard's your new leader at the Memorial. He's at 6 under. He's still got 2 holes left, so he's got a chance to build on that lead. J.J. Spawn, Wyndham Clark, Tommy Fleetwood all tied for second. They're all done for the day. They're at 5 under. Fifth, alone in fifth at 4 under is Nick Taylor. He just finished his round. Tied for sixth, you got a couple of guys, Sam Burns and Justin Rose at 3 under. Also Ludwig Oberg just joined that group at 3 under. And then Tony Finau, if I'm not mistaken, is in the next group, unless he just dropped. I think he just dropped out of that group. We'll find where he is now. Tied for 9th, rounding out the top 10. Oh, no, he's in there. Tony Finau's in there. Shane Lowry, Ryan Fox, Taylor Pendrith, Brian Harmon, Scotty Scheffler as well. That's your PGA Tour leaderboard update brought to you by Uinta Golf at the Memorial.
All right. We talked about this earlier in the week. Eric Weddle made himself public enemy number 1 in Ann Arbor, Michigan, amongst the hardcore maize and blue. The fans there, he did not like what Eric Weddle said on a podcast about Bryce Underwood. And then he went on the Rich Eisen show. And Rich Eisen, by the way, one of those Michigan folks.
Yeah, one of those guys.
So
one of those guys we hate.
I guarantee Rich Eisen has like a burner account on goblue.com or whatever the Wolverines.
And he was dragging Weddle.
And he's just like, he doesn't know what he's talking about. It's probably like therapeutic for Rich Eisen to just become the absolute dregs of the internet when normally he's just this hyper professional, exemplary example of what media is supposed to be.
And then be very buddy with Eric Weddle when he comes on his show.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I get your perspective.
Okay.
Weddle, you're fine.
Okay, Eric, I just want to tell you, Eric, you know how he does that? He says people's first names like 57 times during the interview. Eric, what do you think about Bryce Underwood? Eric, tell me, clarify your thoughts, Eric.
Do you think he forgets who he's talking to, and that's a way that he remembers?
It is, by the way, it is one of those mnemonic devices. It's a trick that you can play on your own brain. If you say somebody's name a bunch of times when you first meet them, when you learn their name, then you'll remember their name.
I did that when I met my wife. I'm like, I got to remember. I can't forget. I can't do this thing where I forget the name. So like,
thankfully, she has a fairly unique name.
Yeah. So I said it a lot when we first met, like the very moment that we met. Okay, yeah, great. And
you Rich Eisen to your wife when you first
met her?
with
the name. Still haven't forgotten it, so I guess it works.
That's good. That's good. You're probably safe at this point. Here's Eric Weddle on the Rich Eisen show, clarifying some of his comments, I guess.
What is it? Is it something that could be fixed? Is it physical? Is it mental? What do you think?
So I think it's a number of things. It could be obviously how he was developed in high school, then his first year at Michigan, getting coaching or lack thereof. There's just a lot of improvement, both pre-snap, post-snap, rhythm, timing, footwork. Everything has to be in line. Like it's a sequence when you're playing quarterback, right? Like it's a quick 3. It's a 3-step rhythm. It's a 3-step with a hitch, depending on what the routes, what the coverage is, what your rules are, the progression. And that just wasn't clean when I watched him. And so therefore the ball's on the ground, the ball's not being thrown, the ball's inaccurate. So can it be fixed? Of course it could be fixed. You can work every day. Hard work can alleviate a lot of issues. Okay. So can he? Yeah, but it's up to him and it's up to the team. Like I'm just saying what I saw, and if the quarterback can play at a consistent level, whether it's him or someone else, to give Michigan the best chance to win a championship, that's who the coach is going to go with. No, there is no, you would hope nothing gets in the way of playing the best and who gives the team the best chance to win. But listen, we'll see what happens at the end of the year. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'll still wake up the next day and coach football and try to be the best I can be. And if I'm right, I'm not going to go out there and be like, oh, I'm right. I'm this and that. It's not. I'm not. My personality is not like that. You know me, Rich.
I do.
And I'm just. I know I lit a little fire. And listen, I wish them the best. And like I said, for all the young guys out there, okay, this is a perfect example of not letting what people say on the outside affect what you do on a daily process, especially your mentals. Like, you know how hard you work. You know how hard you're doing for your teammates and trying your best. That's all that should matter. Not some guy on social media that thinks his opinion, and whether you want to believe it or not, your story can be written by what you do.
So online, if you just read people are like, oh, he's walking back his comments. And no, he didn't walk back his comments. He clarified there what he was talking about. He gave more details on it. But he's absolutely right. And he turns it into a teaching moment for the same guy he's criticizing at the very end. Because that's our guy. That's Weddle, man.
Yeah, I know. It's a masterful performance of like, I think unintentional, because we know, you know better than I do, he doesn't care if people don't like what he has to say.
No, he doesn't.
But he
especially Michigan people.
Yeah. Unintentionally, he goes and deflects all the pressure that's been put on him because he said something that a lot of people don't like, and turns it around and says, Bryce, it's a perfect example. When someone like me is criticizing you, you don't have to care.
And Bryce doesn't. And by the way, there's like these young guys now are better than any of us ever were, and probably any of us currently are, at compartmentalizing. I am guilty of this plenty of times where I'll be like, man, what is wrong with these young kids these days? Because, I'm the old man shaking my fist at the clouds. But then when you actually talk, like, we're going to have Devin Dampier do a weekly interview with us again, and we're going to talk with Dev. And Dev, right now, he's on social media. He's not overly active on social media, right? During the football season, he'll be off. During the football season, these guys do compartmentalize very, very well. They'll shut it off. So if this comment happens during the year, Bryce Underwood might not even hear about it, And Weddle will not have to, by the way, gloat about being right if he is right, because that is going to be regurgitated and recycled, and the I told you so's, he won't have to generate them. They'll come from everybody else, especially the Utah fan base who, worships at the feet of the Eric Weddle altar.
Did you see this video clip, by the way? I'm not showing the video when I just played it. The reason I ask, he's got a bunch of jerseys. Not sure any of them are his. It's far enough away you can't really tell other than the number. Bunch of jerseys. I wonder if it's like jersey exchanges he's done.
Yeah, that's his home office.
That's his home office.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a beautiful home office. He's got a huge wall of jerseys. And you got to love, if you're a Utes fan, he knows he's going on video on national TV and on ESPN radio. And he decides, I'm gonna sport my Utes hat. I'm going to sport my circle and feather hat here.
Dude,
promote the program.
One thing you will never be able to say about this guy, even if his kids go other places, one thing you will never be able to say about Eric Weddle is that he is not a Ute through and through, in a way that is a lot more old school than people really even fully appreciate.
He's very much like Morgan Scalley in that regard. The only difference is he didn't grow up in the suburb of Salt Lake City like Morgan Scalley did.
It's actually pretty crazy when you think about it, that this guy spent 4 years, right? He played as a true freshman. He started as a true freshman. He played for 4 years at this university, and he is a bigger supporter of this university than he is of the Chargers, his hometown team that drafted him and made his dream come true. He's a bigger supporter of the Utes than he is of the Baltimore Ravens, where they gave his career second life and he had, really great years. He was an all-pro and a Pro Bowler. And then even more so than the Rams, where he won a Super Bowl. Like, the dude has taken this 4-year snapshot of his very illustrious athletic career, and he has decided he is going to be loyal to that in a way that he is. And he's loyal to all of his people, but it's really, really impressive. So, we're always going to defend our guy, allow him to use his own words to defend himself if he feels like he needs to, but I don't think he needed to. No. And I think I applaud Rich Eisen as much as we'd like to be tongue-in-cheek. He's like dyed-in-the-wool Michigan dude.
I mean, if you listen to any part of the Rich Eisen show, which we play the first hour here, of course, right before this show, 10 to 11 here on ESPN 792.1 FM, if that's all you listen to every day, especially during the men's NCAA tournament when Michigan was winning and then it ended up winning, you didn't even have to know his history before that to know he is true blue, go blue, Michigan Wolverines guy all the time. The way that we just talked about Eric Weddle is for Utah, that's who Rich Eisen is for his university.
And look, Weddle's got opinions on your quarterbacks as well, Utah. He was very open about it last year. He wants Bird Ficklin to be a big part of what this team does. Not because he doesn't like Devin Dampier, but because he loves Bird Ficklin and what Bird Ficklin's potential looks like. So that's something we'll be talking about as the season approaches. All right, we'll take one more break here. We have Smashing Pumpkins tickets that we're going to give away. They're coming to the Delta Center on October 29th. Get your texting fingers ready at 877-353-0700. We'll do a little crosstalk with Spence and give away some Smashing Pumpkins tickets. It's Utah's #1 sports talk, the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Sean O'Connell Show, wrapping things up here. We've got some Smashing Pumpkins tickets to give away. 877-353-0700. Gordy Chiesa gave us this little tidbit. How many players in NBA Finals Game 1 history have had 15 rebounds and 0 turnovers? 877-353-0700. It's not a big number, hint, hint, wink, wink. Smashing Pumpkins tickets if you are listening, and you can give us the correct answer. We turn things over to Spence Checketts on the drive. Crosstalk now brought to you by our friends at Advanced Window Products. 801-850-9100, $2,500 off, 10 windows or more. Hi, Spence.
Are you wearing a San Antonio shirt on purpose?
Yes.
That feels directed at me.
No.
Okay.
I'm just I'm showing solidarity, and I picked them to win, so I'm just I believe in you guys.
Well,
also, this is funny because it's not a San Antonio Spurs shirt. It's a PFL San Antonio event shirt.
Yet it's San Antonio Spurs colors.
Yes. They did that on purpose.
I also picked them to win. And they still might. But I was really impressed with the Knicks last night.
Crazy impressed with the Knicks, especially Jalen Brunson's closeout abilities. Just it's cool to see that when you don't really have a horse in the race. It's cool to see a guy deliver on that stage, that amount of pressure. And, Jalen Brunson is now one of these guys. You got to start putting him in the conversation. I mean, he's been in the conversation of being one of the best clutch players. But if he can carry a team that hasn't won a championship since 1973 past Victor Wembanyama and this Spurs squad, he's a Hall of Famer, man.
The last point guard to win a championship as your best lead offensive option, it was Detroit and Isaiah Thomas.
That's wild.
Don't give me Stephen Curry. He's a unicorn, and he's also about 6'4", 6'4.5". Isaiah Thomas is 6'1". Jalen, I think Jalen's my height, and I've never measured 6 feet. I'd like to say that I have, but I'm like the 5'11", 6 feet guy. He's not 6'2", not even close. And some of the questions we asked on the show yesterday turned out to be answered in a very interesting way. First of all, in the regular season, it was De'Aaron Fox on Jalen. I think Mitch Johnson might go back to that because they went with Stephon Castle and it didn't matter. I think they need Stephon Castle to potentially move around and try to deal with the big bodies of OG Anunoby, and somebody's got to stop Josh Hart from cutting. And the thing that they were able to do that was really interesting is they allowed Wembanyama to contest their jumpers. And the reason they wanted him to do that is to get him away from the basket for second chance points. And I think they had 18 second chance points. They lead the playoffs in second chance points, and San Antonio's the worst team in the playoffs at stopping second chance points, and it's because Wembanyama goes to help, and then no one's behind you to rebound. So I think I'm kind of changing the way I feel about this based off of what I saw last night. It's one game, and everyone says, well, home court advantage. San Antonio just went into Oklahoma City in a Game 7 and won in their building. Now, the Garden is going to be nuts. It'll be tough for them to get a win there, but I'm not ready to say that I'm changing my pick, but I was quite stunned watching that game after San Antonio went up, the way New York adjusted and how they were able to get that done.
We were having a little fun figuring out earlier on the show the celebrity row at Madison Square Garden, right? Like where the threshold is when you can make the phone call and say, hey, I want a ticket. Because in New York, it's a long, long, long list.
Yeah.
In Salt Lake City, you couldn't even fill the front row all around the floor with people who actually deserve that seat.
Yeah, there's not a list in Salt Lake City. You would be on it.
It feels insulting,
but
it's also
not.
flattering at the same time.
Yeah, what I'm saying is it's like, okay, all the Osmonds are coming, and then Sean. Once you get all the Osmonds done.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, I've seen those lists that they have to say no to.
Okay, because you have inside basketball knowledge here, do they pay for the ticket?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So Timothée Chalamet and Kylie Jenner sitting front row are paying $100,000 for those seats.
I mean, I don't know what the number is, but whatever the number is, they're paying for it. I have this funny memory as a kid in '92 because Ewing was on the Dream Team. Every team that had a player on the Dream Team, you had two full access situations with two staff members. So like John and Carl were on the team. So, I know Larry Miller was there with his children. I can't remember who else the Jazz sent. But Ewing was on the team, so we went. And my dad took me and my sister. My mom did not want to go, so we lucked out. And I remember we were at the track and field event, and all of a sudden my dad goes, "Oh, no, there's Spike Lee." I'm like, "What's wrong with that?" He's like, "We just raised their ticket prices. He's going to be right." And Spike comes, walking over like he's the bagel guy, getting ready to complain. And I look over, and he's pointing at my father like this, because they had like doubled. If I remember correctly, it was $50,000 a seat then. That was 92. Now that was for the season.
Yeah.
Okay. So I read this morning the lowest ticket price to get in the building is like $8,000.
It's $8,000.
Get in the building.
To get in the building is $8,000. The lower bowl was like $19,000 when we checked while we were talking with Gordy Chiesa. And I did look, just so you know, like we often talk about the evil empire of Dolan and how he's terrible. There are 250 tickets that are being given away to underprivileged youth. It's called the Garden of Dreams Foundation.
Yes, it is.
If I'm one of those underprivileged kids, I am fencing those tickets. I'm selling them, and I am suddenly becoming more privileged.
I was going to say there are 250 tickets given away and will be available on Ticketmaster within 5 minutes.
Dude,
that's what you should do.
That's a minor little lottery win if you can get that thing handed to you. That's wonderful. So
But no,
I like that.
the celebs pay. You're not getting free tickets because if you won't pay, guess what? There's somebody right behind you who will, and they're not pining for star quality. It doesn't matter. In the regular season, if I remember correctly, I'm very rarely starstruck, but when I met Denzel Washington, that was a pretty cool thing.
I would love to meet Denzel. He's my favorite actor.
By the way, nicest dude. Like, asked me, I was in high school at the time. He was asking me what I do. We were talking about basketball, and he was like genuinely interested in my life. I'm like, and this was like peak Denzel Washington, Academy Award winner. And if I remember correctly, Denzel had 2 comps through Allen Houston's dad because they were good buddies. But that's a rare thing because the players have tickets, and so they can give tickets away. But if you're a celebrity and you call the Garden, they're like, "Sweet, what's your Amex number?" "Yeah, you got 2, and it just cost you $200K or whatever."
That's awesome.
They're paying.
Yikes.
This is capitalism, Sean.
Yeah, no, it's good. I mean, it's how it should be.
Yeah.
So I guess you won't be able to get me any free tickets to the Garden. That was going to be my next
Well,
one.
I have a surprise for you. I was able to get 2 of the underprivileged youth tickets for you.
You know what's sad is even I would put those up on the secondary.
Of course.
Like, oh, yeah, cool. Thank you.
Have you looked at World Cup tickets, by the way?
I've been looking every day at World Cup tickets because my wife was a college soccer player, and I'm like, man, it would be really, really nice to get her. Her parents have a place we could stay in Southern California, so we're like, just hop on a flight, maybe make it happen. And the prices are coming down, but they're still very pricey.
Yeah, there's an article in The Athletic today because my son was raised in the soccer world the way I was raised in the basketball world. So he just wants to go to a World Cup game, and he's turning 25 this summer, so I'm trying to make it happen. There's an article in The Athletic today that's indicating the U.S.-Paraguay game is far from sold out. Thousands of seats available because FIFA is being accused of price gouging and claiming that there were fewer tickets available than there actually are. So as we get closer and closer to the match, there's a potential that tickets will be released at a better price point. But the problem is you got to get airfare and hotel, and you can't really count on that because what if there's this second wave and suddenly the tickets are gone and you're just hanging out?
Yeah, I mean, it also, the parking in and around SoFi is $250 to park, which is just gross. So I get it. It is capitalism. You can't expect to go to an Olympics or a World Cup game or something like that if you're not, going to pay the price. I do genuinely, and I mean this, I do think it's important that sports remain accessible to low-income, average-income people. Like, do I want to be able to afford front-row tickets? Yes, of course. Do I think it's fair that somebody who, didn't get to have their university paid for and all that kind of stuff, do I think those people should still be able to take their kids to a game? 1,000,000% yes.
Mm-hmm.
Sports should not be this thing that is only for the hyper-privileged. Front row tickets are always going to be, but I hope that we can figure something out with You know, even like Mammoth tickets, Jazz tickets, Bees tickets, for hell's sake.
Yeah.
So
this article pointed out something interesting. I should probably give this guy credit. I will on the show because I have it as part of my notes. But as a result of what a lot of the numbers have shown, which is a lot of people, and Matt Slater is his name. If you want to go check out the piece, it's called "Why FIFA's 2026 World Cup is Such a Ripoff." And Matt goes through this exercise where he talks about the data that we have that a lot of people do want to stay home. They enjoy staying home. They want to watch a game on their couch. They want to be able to go make a sandwich and you drink their own cold beer and not wait for an hour to go to the bathroom. So because over the course of the past 7-8 years, COVID had a lot to do with this, people oftentimes aren't looking for the live experience, that they do just want to stay home and watch. What owners of teams and stadiums are now trying to do is make your in-person experience exclusive, like an experience you want to have live, as opposed to just sitting down and watching a game. So over in the UK, fans just want to go watch the game with their friends. They want to go with their soccer hooligan buddies. They just want to go watch the game. It's fine. And if you go over to the UK and go to an EPL game, they've got concessions that are like a hot dog, meat pies. Don't ever eat that crap. It's disgusting. Basic beers.
Disagree. Love a meat pie.
You are nuts. You've had a meat pie in England?
Yeah, love meat pies. What are you talking about?
So you have no taste buds left.
What?
So your palate is gone.
No, they're so good.
They are so disgusting.
You're wrong.
Let me guess, you like bangers and mash too.
I love them.
See, that just means you'll eat anything.
Hold on.
You're Mikey from the Life commercials back in the day. Mikey likes it. Let Mikey try it.
You don't like a meat pie?
I don't know that I've ever had anything worse in my life than a meat pie. They're so disgusting.
You must have got something weird like a kidney pie or something.
No, it's called a refined palate. But anyway, as I was.
Please.
So fans over there there aren't luxury bunkers. There aren't like the high end, okay, you pay an extra $5,000 and you're in the suite and you have an open bar and it's just they go to a soccer game.
Yeah.
Whereas the American sporting experience, and I think we're going to see this here at Rice Eccles Stadium at some point, bunker suites added. Some of the cheap seats done away. Like even NFL stadiums are eliminating some of their seats now. Our stadiums are getting smaller.
Yeah.
And the reason is there's so many people that either can't afford to go to games or prefer to stay home. What owners of teams now are trying to do are make their arenas and their stadiums feel like a luxury experience so you do get out of your house. That's why it's so expensive.
Happening to airplanes too. Did you know that?
I did know that. Delta, no more free peanuts, no more free soda, no matter where you're at. Actually, if you're first class, calm down. I fly on the lay down seat, guy.
Stop it.
If you're in coach,
not true. They're only getting rid of the free drinks for flights that are under 1 hour. Yeah.
Are you sure?
It's 300 miles.
Okay. Well, I'll be flying coach to Portland tomorrow. I will report back.
Yeah. Go ahead and report back. You're going to get the tiny bag of miniature Sun Chips. Okay.
What about Cheez-Its?
You could have Cheez-Its.
Nice.
You could have a Biscoff cookie.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, well, then I'm set. If I can have Cheez-Its and a Biscoff cookie for free, I'm good. I thought I was going to be paying for my Diet Coke on the way to Portland tomorrow.
No. Only on flights that are less than 300 miles, which is like Vegas.
Okay. Because my fear with this is it's gonna lead to more people bringing in their, the airport Chinese food that they bought, bringing that on the plane, which is nothing will ruin a flight more than the lady sitting down with, what is that, the Panda Express?
Yeah.
Don't say yeah like that. Let me guess, that's good too?
No, it's
okay,
not
finally,
good.
we found something.
It's not good.
If Panda Express started serving meat pies, Sean would leave the show early just to grab one.
I'm really just completely flummoxed that you don't like a meat pie. That's crazy behavior.
Well, the meat was disgusting. Potentially I had a bad one because I've only had one in my life and I swore I would never do it again.
Yeah, what happened was Spence had a meat pie, threw it on the ground. Mommy, where's my strawberries and cream?
Oh, now I have an English accent as a kid?
Just like,
why did I lose it?
Because you don't like the everyman food of a meat pie? It's crazy behavior.
This was like 2 years ago. Okay, so I was not a child.
Where's my liver pate?
Randomly with a British accent, however that worked. And it was disgusting. I will never have one again.
Okay, well.
Are you being serious? You like meat pies?
Okay, so this is no joke. We've done several fight events in the UK. We did Newcastle, England, which is like it's northern England. It's a very like blue collar. And they have this little farmer's market where there's a booth in there that is just meat pies and just sausage rolls, which is like a hot dog with a croissant baked around it. It's like a giant pigs in a blanket, right?
Okay.
And my mouth is watering thinking about it. I would go to this place and I would just walk up to the guy and be like, "What's the best one?" And he was this humongous. He's probably like 6'8". This humongous. He's like Hodor. And he has the graveliest voice. Like, "What kind of food do you like, mate?" And I'm like, "Just give me whatever you think is best. I'm a random American. We don't have those over in the States. We don't have these."
Game of Thrones.
And he's just, yeah.
Okay.
Good job.
Took me a
You
minute.
got it.
Yeah.
And he's just like, "All right, hold on." And he would just load me up with like 2 sausage rolls and 2 meat pies. I'd be like, "That's 16 pound." And I'm like, "Wow, that's like $30. Okay." But I love it.
What kind of meat was are in these meat pies?
Beef, pork, occasionally a little bit of like duck or goose or something weird.
I must have got a weird one.
Yeah, you got a weird one. They're so good. Do you like pot pie?
Love pot pie. And I
That's
enjoy
what it is. It's a handheld pot pie.
I enjoy a good hot dog. So maybe sausage and a croissant is more my speed. We were at Stonehenge. Side note, don't do that. Okay. It's a waste of time. And it was a 2-hour drive out of the city. And before we got back in the car, I'm like, I'm starving. The only thing they had at Stonehenge in the line was a meat pie.
Yeah.
And I'm so hungry, I'm like excited for my first meat pie. And one bite, and disgusting. And I swore off meat pies forever.
Out
Tasted like
Stonehenge,
liver.
It probably was liver.
Well, then if it was liver, Sean, I'm justified saying it was horrible.
It was like probably pigeon livers. They shot off the stones at Stonehenge. Those weird druids, pagans out there.
And there were no other options. It wasn't like, hey, meat pie, sausage, dog, whatever. It was like meat pie. This is what we do here. It's all you have. So went with the meat pie. Had a bad experience, but maybe you've convinced me to give it another try.
All right, that's Spence Checketts. He's the host of The Drive. That's coming next. Stay tuned for that. I'm out tomorrow for PFL duties. Bill Riley going to be in. The voice, you tell me the voice of the Utes is back on these ESPN 700 airwaves. I think people are probably more excited about that than they are listening to me. Oh, well. It's the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700, 92.1 FM.